Monday, and we're going to pass you up to Greg Hughes. Greg, good morning to you.
Good morning, Lee. Still playing the wrong jingle here, but anyway, sure.
Never worry about it. Only you said that. Nobody would know. You'd be all right.
How are you keeping?
Doing good.
Did you have a good weekend?
I did. I had a few bits and bobs done. I took it handy enough.
Not really the wrong jingle, anyway. All right, Lee.
Have a good
see
show.
You tomorrow morning.
Good luck.
Safe journey home. All right, it is 9 o'clock. It's another week of the 9 till noon show. Time to say good morning now for a news update to Donald Kavanagh.
Thank you, Greg. Good morning. A yellow ice warning remains in place for the country with temperatures below freezing in many parts of Donegal. A similar warning in place in Derry, Tyrone and Fermanagh. A winter weather advisory continues in place for the coming days with hail, sleet, snow and freezing fog on the horizon. Drivers are being urged to exercise caution on all roads in the northwest with conditions dangerous, particularly on untreated roads. The Garda Commissioner Drew Harris appears before a meeting of the Donegal Joint Policing Committee this afternoon. He'll be facing questions about the new system of policing in the northwest, which will see Donegal, Sligo and Leitrim combined into one northwest region overseen by a single Garda superintendent. The JPC chair, Councillor Jerry McMonigal, says they'll also be asking the Commissioner about the allocation of Gardaí to the northwest region. The Public Expenditure Minister says he deeply regrets the situation over undeclared costs in 2016. Pascal Donoghue acknowledged an additional spend of €1,057 should have been included on his statement for the general election campaign that year. It comes after a complaint was made against him to SIPO, alleging he failed to properly declare work around the erection and removal of posters that year. Sinn Féin TD Louise O'Reilly says Minister Donoghue needs to go into more detail.
What he hasn't done is he hasn't provided information about the 6 people. So he says that there were 6 people over 4 nights using a company van for some of that period and potentially using their own vehicles for some of it as well. But he doesn't say how they were paid, who had paid them, what was the value of the service that they had provided.
Atlantis Area Councillor is welcoming progress on a new housing development in Gweedore. Councillor Micheál Conamgall-Asbach says the announcement that 29 units are to be completed over the next 2 years in Gweedore is good news, but he says more needs to be done to stop people emigrating from West Donegal.
Certainly encouraging news from housing construction, and I'd like to give recognition to the housing staff locally and Lifford, but at the same time things are moving far too slow for us. Yes, we are talking now the possibility with government approval, 29 units for Gweedore, groundbreaking this year and turnkey in 2024. But if you look at other areas like Hirra, Crashvilla, Alcara, Anchohanlia, Anigra, Litchmack Ward, Tari, Erinmore, all these places here are badly needing of houses. We have something like a couple of hundred people on the housing list. There are scores and scores of individuals and families who are leaving because the cost of housing is beyond them.
A new global tourism campaign is being launched this morning by Minister Catherine Martin in Dublin. The campaign will highlight the attractions Ireland has to offer. It'll be the first time industry leaders meet in person since 2019. Niall Gibbons is Tourism Ireland's CEO.
For the first time in 3 years in real life, we'll be launching our 2023 marketing plans to promote Ireland to the globe in a post-COVID world. It'll be great to have so many people in person in Dublin on Monday today and Belfast on Wednesday. And we'll be setting out a strategy really to see the return of overseas tourism with a good, strong marketing budget provided by our ministers and a brand new campaign.
Cold this morning with frost and icy stretches. They will clear slowly, lingering in some parts. Today will bring sunny spells and scattered showers, some of those showers wintry. Top temperatures today just 2 to 3 degrees Celsius with light to moderate northwest breezes. And that's Highland Radio News. Back with news again at 10 o'clock.
The county's #1 talk show, the 9 till noon show on Highland Radio. And now it's time for the talk of the Northwest, the 9 to noon show with Greg Hughes on Highland Radio.
Hello, good morning to you. It is 4 minutes past 9 on this Monday, the 16th of January 2023. Very welcome along to another edition of the 9 till noon show, another week of the programme. It's a busy one. You know it's going to be busy anyway. I say it because I can say it with confidence. We've got so much lined up for you to keep you informed and entertained. We want to know what you want to talk about as well. Any stories you want to pass on. Maybe there's all positive stuff as well, you know. That's more than welcome here. 086 60 25,000. WhatsApps and texts that number 086 60 25,000, or give us a call on 07491 25,000. If you wish, you can email comments@highlandradio.com. You can message me on my social media, or you can watch on our social media. Go to YouTube, Highland Radio Ireland. We're streaming for you there, as we are across our Facebook pages and on our website, highlandradio.com. That's highlandradio.com. Right, as I say, plenty to keep you informed, entertained as this Monday cracks on. It was a cold one overnight, wasn't it? It's going to be cold all week. Mild weather returning on Friday. But did you see the snow in some parts of the county yesterday? Dozens of vehicles caught out at Mina Roy there. I don't think we've seen anything as bad since, but it just goes to show in a county that's geographically made up as ours is, in one part of the county, lovely weather. In another, people are trapped in snow. It's crazy, really, when you think about it. Let's see what's happening in the papers today. The Derry People Donegal News. A HSE worker has said the removal or downgrading of Nowdock in Letterkenny would be a devastating blow to the county. And of course, it's not just Letterkenny. Either, by the way. Possible changes to the operations of the out-of-hours service in the northwest could see CareDoc, which supplies GPs for the Nowdock service, taking over the region. Under proposals, the Nowdock call centre and triage will no longer be based in Letterkenny, will instead operate out of Carlow. This has sparked concerns that the delivery of care for patients locally would be negatively impacted. The employee, who did not wish to be named, was speaking as fears continued to mount that the future of out-of-hours services following the commencement of a review into how services in the region are currently being carried out. The employee said staff were left devastated after being told of the possible takeover. They said the service is invaluable as an out-of-hours medical backup for the Donegal public. In addition, it helps keep numbers down in accident and emergency. The staff were told of a possible takeover and are awaiting HSE letters. But this is I got sight of the initial letter from CareDoc a number of weeks ago now, and it wasn't clear whether or not sort of a drop-in Letterkenny would be gone or not. But as I say, it's just important to point out that it's not just Letterkenny here. There's swathes of the county with their own Nowdock offices that are also concerned. The Derry News this morning: ratepayers in the Derry City and Strabane District Council area are facing the prospect of a 12% increase in the rate bills in the incoming financial year. The rate will be struck in the first week of February. A special meeting to discuss the situation took place on Friday. It was attended by council staff, councillors, MPs Gregory Campbell and Colm Eastwood, and MLAs Gary Middleton, Ciara Ferguson, Padraig Delargy, Mark H. Durkin and Sinead McLaughlin. Derry News understands council is also considering a wide range of cuts to its services in an effort to reduce its annual expenditure. On to the Irish Times now. What do you make of this Pascal Donoghue story? He at the time was head of the department which heads up SIPO, and now he finds himself reported to SIPO, and it seemed in his statement and subsequent questions that he feels maybe that, he always holds himself up to high standards. Almost, how dare you question that I should do anything purposely? But you know what? We're all the same here, and everyone deserves the same level of scrutiny. Really bucketing down with snow here at the mountaintop at the moment. I don't know what it's like where you are. But anyway, Minister for Public Expenditure Pascal Donoghue failed to properly record election expenses paid by a friend who was later included on a list of names he submitted as suitable to head up a state task force headquartered in his constituency. Now, this is either a remarkable coincidence or certainly requires, well, in any case, it requires some explanation. Mr. Donoghue last night apologised at length for submitting the inaccurate returns, which he believed were accurate and true at the time he put them in. But ignorance is not a defence either. He said he now accepted he failed to correctly record €1,057 in election expenses, which was paid for in the form of a donation to Dublin Central Fine Gael by the businessman Michael Stone. Mr. Donoghue said he had in recent weeks become aware €917 had been paid to 6 workers for postering by Mr. Stone before the election. He had previously believed the work was done on a voluntary basis, that these 7 people were just working out of the pure love of the man. The use of a van owned by Mr. Stone's company for the postering was valued at €140. Mr. Donoghue became aware of this in 2017 and on last evening said he would have amended his election expenses then, saying it was a clear oversight on my part, which I acknowledge and apologise for. Right, okay, I think there's much more to that story. I think a politician that holds whose department holds all other politicians to account should also be held to the highest level of account there. All right, interesting interview on that I heard on national radio in the morning, in that the journalist in question was questioning a Sinn Féin representative and was actually arguing on behalf of Mr. O'Donoghue. What if he forgot about this, and what about this, and would, do all parties not do that? I thought it was a peculiar position for a journalist to take. Mr. O'Donoghue, I'm sure, would be well capable of going on the radio and defending himself, but it was interesting to hear a journalist nationally putting arguments as to why this is okay to a member of the opposition. I don't think that's objective journalism, really. I think that's the role of Mr. Donoghue to come on and do that himself. The Irish Independent, just 15 nursing home groups own 40% of all private nursing home beds in this country, an unpublished government report reveals. The first major audit of the sector shows that global nursing home groups and international investment firms, along with a large-scale Irish operator, owns 10,720 of all private beds in Ireland. The report finds there has been significant consolidation in private nursing care in recent years. Operators with multiple homes now make up the majority of the market. The data reveals the number of big operators with more than 100 beds increased dramatically between 2016 and 2021 the years under review, while the number of smaller homes with fewer than 20 beds has fallen. Now, I don't know what the consequence of that is, to be completely honest with you, in terms of nursing bed ownership and who owns them, and the negatives or pros in that regard. Interesting, they just manage one paragraph on Pascal Donoghue on the front of the Irish Independent there. Nothing of that story on the front of the rest of the papers I'll be looking at, as far as I could see. The Irish Daily Mail tells us that tensions are growing in the coalition over controversial proposed tax breaks for developers being used to fix the housing crisis. Sounds all very familiar, this, doesn't it? Taoiseach Leo Varadkar favours tax breaks, and other Fine Gael cabinet ministers advocate absolving builders of VAT on materials. Justice Minister Simon Harris says he's in favour of providing help to builders to confront viability of building due to rising costs of materials. However, Fianna Fáil ministers and the Department of Finance, led by Fianna Fáil Minister Michael McGrath, are opposed to tax breaks, VAT holidays or any such measures, it's been learned. Fianna Fáil ministers, due to historic accusations of close relationships with the building sector, do not want to support such tax policies. But Leo Varadkar, of course, is the Taoiseach, so it's really up to him, isn't it? On to the other tabloids here now. The Irish Daily Star, telling you something you probably already know. 1 in 3 Irish people are struggling to make ends meet during the ongoing cost of living crisis, new research has found. It comes as pressure grows on government to extend several temporary cost of living measures put in place last year that are due to expire at the end of February. This includes reductions in the excise duty on petrol and VAT that have been in place since last March. We kind of forgot about those, didn't we? A new WIN international survey published today has found that 30% of the Irish population say that they are struggling to make ends meet. 1 in 3 of us. This increases amongst people aged 35 and 54 years, with 37% of this cohort struggling. Some 37% of people from lower economic backgrounds also find it difficult to make ends meet, the survey found. Just a quarter of people describe their financial situation as comfortable, the minority. The annual WIN World Survey on the cost of living crisis garnered the views of 30,000 individuals in 36 countries. Are you feeling the squeeze now? In what area in particular are you finding it more difficult? 086 60 25,000, 086 60 25,000, or call 074 91 25,000. We have Donna Marie and Emma taking your calls this morning. Right, on to now the Sun newspaper and it was an awful, tragic situation with the plane crash in Nepal. An Irishman was on board that plane. An Irishman was among the passengers on board a plane that crashed in Nepal, resulting in at least 69 people losing their lives. Footage of the Asian country's worst crash in almost 3 decades shows the jet flip on its side near Pokhara International Airport before crashing into the ground. And I suppose in this day and age as well, everything is being recorded between people on the plane recording. Also, you had situations whereby, of course, there were people on the ground you've got video cams on doorbells and all that kind of stuff. Nothing goes unseen anymore, and some shocking imagery of people in their last moments there. It was really, really sad. 72 people were on board the flight at the time, including 3 children. The Department of Foreign Affairs said it is aware of reports that an Irishman was among the people on the plane. However, there has been no update on whether he is among the people who lost their lives. But everyone who was on that plane at this point now is expected to have lost their lives. And apparently the pilot went to great efforts, because that is an airport that's in a relatively populated area, went to great efforts to land the plane as much as he or she could. I'm not sure of their gender. In a piece of land that wasn't populated. And finally, it's a small piece here, but we might dig into the statistics a little bit more. 1% of the Ireland's population owns 1% of Irish population have amassed 21 trillion of new wealth in the past 2 years. That's the world, sorry. Oxfam found extreme wealth and extreme poverty have increased simultaneously for the first time in 25 years. There are Irish statistics, which I'll get to. I'll find them for you. It's like, I don't really understand, different social systems or tax systems or what have you, but there's a very small amount of people that have more money than a large swathe of people with less money. Now, I'm not saying you go and take their money and you give it to other people because people have worked very hard to earn that money, but you certainly tax them at least equivalent to what you tax poor people and distribute the wealth that way in terms of spending on education, health, the Gardaí, all the usual stuff. But I'll get the statistics as it relates specifically to Ireland. It's in one of the newspapers, The Times. I thought I had it there, but I didn't. So leave that with me. But it's just shocking that so few people are so wealthy in this country whilst others struggle. All right, it is time for us to take a break. We will be right back.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Simplify your debts with a debt consolidation loan from Letterkenny Credit Union. Call us on 074 910 2126 or apply online via our app or in office today.
I think he enjoys the visits and calls. At the start he was a bit quiet, but I soon got him going. And so now we talk about all sorts, and he knows I'll help him out with a bit of advice when he needs it. I often say to him, isn't it lucky you started volunteering with a loan? Otherwise you never would have met me.
It feels amazing to make someone feel amazing. Volunteer with a loan. Find out more at alone.ie/volunteer.
A new year, a new floor. At Floored, we offer quality solid, semi-solid and laminate click vinyl wood flooring together with a vast choice of parquet herringbone flooring, all fitted and tailored to your needs. Call in today and see for yourself the fantastic offers available this January. Call Floored today on 087 161 7008 or visit floored.ie.
Don't just do okay in your career. Do great at Allstate. Don't settle. Soar. Don't procrastinate. Innovate. Don't do mediocre. Do magnificent. At Allstate. Great work, great life, great people. Where great opportunities await. Search Allstate NI Careers today.
Connect Hearing is open for free hearing tests. Our audiologist is available Monday to Friday for wax removal services at our Letterkenny Clinic in the Courtyard Shopping Centre. We also offer a home visit for those who aren't able to visit us. Our hearing is our social sense. Are you finding hearing more of a challenge? Call Ursula today on 07491 13296 to make an appointment. Good hearing helps us to connect to our family, friends and loved ones. Connect Hearing, connecting you to life.
Sabrina Robb here from Donegal Hearing Clinic. If you're struggling to hear everyday conversations or find it difficult to understand people in a crowded room, you may have hearing loss. Problems like these are common and we're used to helping people resolve them. We offer hearing assessments and will discuss your options. You can call us on 074 91 88 470 or visit donegalhearingclinic.ie. Life sounds brilliant with Donegal Hearing Clinic, Letterkenny and Buncrana.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com.
Okay, we welcome on to the programme now retired vet Gerard Rorty. Good morning, Gerard.
Good morning, Greg. How are you?
Good. Thanks for joining us. How are you keeping?
Very well, thank you. We're feeding cattle here in the Wednesday morning.
I was going to say, do you ever really retire as a vet?
You don't.
No,
because you're still obviously going to look after your own animals, indeed. Aye.
And so the phone goes now and again too. Right, Jared, you're concerned about a shortage of vets in Ireland, in Donegal, or where?
Well, we're concerned about a shortage of practicing cattle vets or people who are interested in working as cattle vets on the island of Ireland generally, but Donegal invariably is the canary in the mine, because it's 600 points to get into most vet schools, and that's an awful challenge. And we don't have access to the grind schools and the Institute of Education and so on that other kids have closer to Dublin. So we've noticed the problem get progressively worse over the last 20 years. The graduates from Dublin don't particularly want to work in cattle practice. But in addition to that, Dublin can't simply produce enough vets. So I've been part of a lobby group that has been lobbying the government for the last 10 years, saying we need a new vet school in the island of Ireland. So that's a real good news story. But from a procurement point of view, it's the National Children's Hospital all over again.
It's not going well then, I take it.
It's going fantastic insofar as we have a commitment from the Minister for Higher Education, or a commitment from the government to go ahead and do the vet school. And we're absolutely overjoyed with that. What's not going well is the procurement and the design. And as I mentioned, the Children's Hospital, this has been done in the hoof. And we are saying, particularly for Donegal, there's very specific criteria that we need. Government, as particularly Higher Education Authority, has missed that criteria.
Mm-hmm.
It's the ability to register so that our vets can go in and practice in Northern Ireland and vice versa. And this is a Brexit problem, and I can see what has happened to them. A lot of this work was started 10 years ago before Brexit, and Brexit has caught them short-sighted. And we're saying you've got to realise and recognise now that this is a school that has to be designed with the challenges of Brexit in mind.
All right, so for those of us not in the know, talk to me where the problems are then. Do we have a location for it? And how could... In
terms of location, there are 3 bids for the tender. ATU, which I think is a fantastic bid. Now, I should emphasise, I have no hand, act, nor part of the ATU bid, but LYAT will be part of it, and that's a really exciting bid, and I wish them well. There are 3 bids. The veterinary group, the group of practitioners I'm involved with, we're neutral in terms of the successful bid. What we're saying is, let's design the procurement procedure properly so that the best horse will jump the fence, it will go to the best location. But what we have reservations about is how the procurement design has been done, with particular reservations that any corrections are proposed to be done on the hoof. And that's what ran us into the £1 billion problem in the Children's Hospital. Mm-hmm. So I had an opportunity to be on a Zoom call with some of the other vets involved in this, with some of the special advisors for the government and the HEA last Monday. And we pointed out, we said, look, there's a particular problem here. Post-Brexit, our vets aren't automatically going on to the Royal College of Veterinary Surgeons Registrar. So from Donegal the whole way around to Louth, it's a real must that the vets employed there are going to be able to slip across the border and do calls in Castlederg or into Strabane or Derry or you know, similarly the whole way around the border. If you're sitting in Louth, you can nip into Forkhill or whatever. And it was something I don't think they actually realised because the British government has taken quite a hard line in terms of mutual recognition qualifications. My other profession, for example, in dentistry, they have ceased to recognise a lot of the dental qualifications that were registrable coming in from Europe. And those dentists now are waiting on an exam that's going to be set every 2 years. So we started to ask questions then. We were kind of a little bit surprised they hadn't thought that. So we said, like, who's on this panel that has designed it? And they said, there's 19 people. We said, that's fantastic. And then we said, like, how many vets of those 19? And we were told there was 1. And there was a long pause. And then I asked the hard question. I said, how many of those 19 vets have practiced in the last 30 years in private practice? Well, there's none. It's a very, very eminent civil servant. So we took a step back and said, well, hold on. The normal criteria when you're designing a new faculty of veterinary medicine is you do what was done in England in Nottingham, or you do what was done in Harper Adams or in Keele, and you gather together an international panel of experts. So you're aiming to be as good, for the sake of argument, a UCD vet school.
Yeah.
So you say, we want to make sure we have accreditation in the Royal College so the kids can go practice in the north. But in addition, we want a world-class institute. So let's design it and let's build it with the objectives that we'll get accreditation from Australasia and America and Europe. And the way you do that is you invite somebody, an international panel of experts from those boards. So I put that point to the special advisor. She got it, she agreed with it, and she said, well, yeah, but she says, we don't have time. And my response back was, look, we've waited 123 years since we built the last vet school in Balls Ridge in 1900. I hear what you're saying. It's going to delay the project a month. But what's going to happen is midway through the project, whoever gets it is going to go back to the government and say, look, this is a must. We need to take it to the standard. We've got to redesign the course, redesign the campus, redesign the buildings. And at that stage, as I mentioned, Children's Hospital, the contract's already been awarded. So you're going to go back to step one. So we just don't get it in terms of what is happening in procurement. We just can't understand how you can have 19 people. We have more dentists and doctors on the evaluation panel for a new vet school than we have vets.
Well, let me ask you this. Were you able to ascertain how that panel is established? You know what I mean? If you're dealing specifically with the establishment of a vet training facility, did you inquire as to how this panel was assessed for its suitability for this type of project?
We did. I asked that very specific question, and the response was that the same panel, they have a panel of really esteemed people from a medical background looking at the expansion of medical places and dental places. And from what I can see, the added on once of that panel.
Right, okay.
Yeah, which is, and listen, I am in no way casting aspersions. I mean, the academic qualifications and the pedigree of those 19 people are second to none. Mm-hmm. But they are not people who know an awful lot about designing new vet schools. They're not people that know an awful lot about veterinary academia. I mean, the first question, the really obvious question, I didn't ask it, for example, was that probably one of the most esteemed people in veterinary education worldwide is Professor Michael Doherty, practicing in Inishowen. He's a dairyman. He's dean of the UCD vet school. You know, and I was just expecting her straight away to come back and say someone like Professor Michael Doherty is heading up the panel. And then when we realised, God, we've nobody from Royal College of Veterinary Surgeons, we just thought, well, hold on. You know, we talk an awful lot about shared island. We talk an awful lot about trying to ensure that we have a greater movement of kids between the various third-level institutions. And I'm delighted to say that Magee Graduate Medical School is reserving 20% of their places for students from the south. And veterinary is unusual because we're one epidemiological unit, irrespective of political divisions. Disease moves, as we know, in foot and mouth throughout the 32 counties. So it's always been very important to be conscious of that in terms of delivering veterinary services. And the history and nature of the vet school has always been that way. I mean, the vet school I went to was the same vet school set up in 1900. And that vet school always educated kids from 30 counties, and to this day reserves places. And now you're going to be saying to kids from Northern Ireland, well, come down and go to a vet school, but yeah, we don't think you'll get accreditation.
Okay, well,
you may not be able to get accreditation.
Yeah, you very clearly, I think, outlined the very few people would struggle to argue against the very strong argument you've made as it relates to the procurement of this. When you've raised these issues with them, when you highlighted the fact that, you know, there is a clear gap there in people with knowledge in this specific area, and you've made the strong arguments, the cross-border element of it and all the rest, is it being reviewed, or were you told, well, this is just the way it is?
We were told, unfortunately, this is the way it is. So today, throughout the 32 counties of Ireland, you're going to have a practicing vet or something like me, a retired vet, going on to every radio show, because as practitioners, we're based throughout the 32 counties. And we're going on to local media and to local radio stations to say, look, it's fantastic that we're finally getting a vet school. Because the other big part of the argument that we've been making, Greg, and I'm delighted to hear that they're listening to us, is this idea that we're taking in kids with 600 points and all A1s to vet schools is not working. You know, we're just making the point that it's very clear that those sort of kids do not stay in practice. You don't need 600 points to go in Cavacow and Gorta Hurk, Glenamady, Glenfin, Glenswilly.
I mean, that bar is so high. They really, really, really want to be a vet because there's so many other options.
It's quite the opposite, Greg. What tends to happen is that the kids who get that are kids who either go to grain schools in Bruce College in Limerick or the Institute, or, you know, we have fantastic schools in Donegal, but an awful lot of them are not just geared up. They're geared to educate everybody. They're not geared up like the grain schools are geared up to deliver the 600 points. So we end up getting a bias, a geographical bias, particularly towards South County Dublin, of people who get very, very high points. And we do not get, and this is something I've talked to Tim Cullinan about at length, Irish Farmers Association president. In fact, I talked to Tim again on Thursday about this procurement problem. We are not getting the students into the vet school in UCD at the moment who particularly want to practice as cattle vets. We're getting the kids who want to do ponies and puppies, and that's fantastic, that's brilliant, that's needed too. But there's a real shortage of kids that want to actually go and work as cattle vets. So the new school, one of the criteria for the new school, or one of the objectives, is that they will be biased towards taking in children that will probably all get Bs in their leaving cert, or the equivalent of the roughly 500 points, but will have shown a particular background or interest. They may have gone in agriculture. They may have gone to an agriculture.
Once all of these students have qualified, does that mean there's then a hierarchy within veterinary practice? In other words, a certain level of whereby you have some that would do the cattle calving, etc., and then the others that have a nice posh place in Dublin 4 and look after puppies and stuff. Will there be a hierarchy?
Far from it, because when we ran Donegal Animal Hospital, our vets were all geared and equipped to treat horses and to treat cats and dogs and to treat absolutely every animal. So in the same way within the medical profession, a doctor is a doctor and is trained and equipped in various areas. But what the real challenge at the moment is that, the vet school can train people that are equipped and competent and have the ability to work with farm animals and to work with small animals. The difficulty that we've had is in the vet school in UCD for the last 20 years, the predominant interest has been in kids who want to practice in small animals. Now, they come out fantastically competent and very well trained and capable of doing cattle work, but they have no interest.
Yeah, but I just don't see the connection. And how do you incentivize or how do you
you change your entrance criteria, and we have an agreement from Higher Education Authority. You change your entrance criteria.
Yeah, but I don't understand. I don't understand that. Even if you say, I don't understand, Jared. Say, for instance, you happen to get 100 less points, and you are enrolled in this course. What then would make you more inclined to work in the area of veterinary practice that we're talking of here, working with farm animals, for example, rather than once you're qualified saying, actually,
I probably didn't. I probably didn't explain the change in entrance criteria adequately. Not only are you going to go in with 100 less points, but you're also going to have displayed some sort of a background that indicates that you have an interest in agriculture.
But it doesn't guarantee anything. You just hope that leads to more people.
It doesn't, but it's been shown in Nottingham Vet School, for example, to work. I'll give you the case in point. Harper Adamants and Nottingham Vet, various vet schools in England have gone on this road. What they have done is they have taken the top 5 graduate out of various agricultural colleges. So it's not even as if somebody can say, right, this now is a loophole to get into vet school. I'll go off to Ballyhaise or Gortine or whatever, do an agricultural course. You're going to do the top 5. And what you're going to do is you're going to take people who have displayed from day get-go a bias or an interest towards agriculture. Now, what the elephant in the room and what we can't discuss is that in every other jurisdiction you can have an interview. We can't have an interview because we have such a tradition and a history of nepotism. But going back to my earlier point, if from get-go at the start we don't have the criteria set up, if we don't have the procurement set up properly, it doesn't matter where the vet school goes, it doesn't matter where the aspirations are, we wind up with a vet school that, from an accreditation point of view and a standard point of view, will need a serious amount of money spent mid-design.
Yeah, I get you.
And as I mentioned, the Children's Hospital, you go and you have to change your contract.
So, Jared, if all goes well, right, okay, when do you start seeing an increase in output here in terms of new vets that would be available to address the clear shortages we have, say, for instance, here in Donegal? Do you think it's a situation where the problems might get worse before they get better? Are we likely to see further retirements or people moving into different areas of veterinary practice before we start seeing a conveyor belt of people coming through? What do you optimistically see as a timeline?
We're hoping this school will open 24. The first grads will come out 29. So you're looking at 5 to 6 years down the line. And as I said, our proposal to put together, we have looked that it will take the Higher Education Authority roughly 3 weeks to put together a panel who should assess the beds and redesign the criteria. So we can see that's not going to have any impact on the delay one way or the other. Mm-hmm. But we're just saying, like, the spend of 100 million, and in terms of the history of the state, this is the most expensive investment that the state has ever gone into, because it's incredibly expensive to educate vets.
And yet it's somewhat under the radar, isn't it, if the truth be told, until
very
this
much
morning.
Yeah, it is, but it's not with farmers, because listen, us farmers are very, very aware, that we are seeing, what we have seen is lack of vets coming into practice who have an interest in cattle work or an interest in farm animals, and we're also very aware of is how short a period of time those people stay. I mean, the classic example is in Donegal. You've only to talk to any farmer in Donegal and they'll tell you vet comes, vet goes, because they realise after a very short period of time they're not particularly interested in working with cattle or working with sheep. And again, on this, I got a geographical bias in terms I want to see more kids from Donegal getting into the vet schools. I mean, if you were to count, I could just count in my hands, one hand, how many people in the last 20 years have gone into the UCD vet school. And then with the ridiculous situation of people having to spend probably 40, 50 grand to head off to Eastern Europe to get into vet school. So I didn't mention that. I mean, at the moment, part of not the solution, but part of the way that people can get into that school is head off to Krakow or Budapest or Warsaw or wherever, and that is fine. But, it's ridiculous the amount of money is involved in heading off there.
And clearly not for everyone. Right, okay. Well, and just very finally, does this process fall under the control of Charlie McConaughey's department because there's an agricultural element to it?
No. Listen, if it fell under the problem of Charlie McConaughey's department, it would have been sorted, because Charlie has such an incredible grasp of agriculture and farming matters. Unfortunately, it doesn't. It falls under a Wicklow man, Simon Harris. I mean,
of course,
for another day's discussion, what we should have is, and I'm wearing my farming hat, Charlie McConaughey delivered probably the best scheme, the organic agriculture scheme for Donegal that has boosted Donegal farmers by any Minister for Agriculture.
But is there an argument then for sort of something like this for the likes of the Department of Agriculture and the Department of Higher Education to work in tandem? But we don't really think like that in this country in any case.
Not only do we not think like that, but unfortunately, as you know, government departments in particular, not the ministers, but the departments, the civil servants are very territorial.
Of course.
And
this is my baby.
We have very clearly been told this is higher education. Simon Harris, he makes the decisions.
All right, listen, Jared, thanks for the insight. I'll let you get back
Brilliant,
at it.
Greg,
we appreciate your time. All right,
thanks
take care.
Again.
Right, 086 60 25,000 is the WhatsApp and text line if you want in on that conversation.
Cutting through the spin. The 9 till noon show on Highland Radio. The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Do you need to switch your current account or loan? We are now offering MyCU current account and debit MasterCard, bringing full banking features and competitive rate switcher loans.
Sheridan Security, now introducing zero-wire smart alarm systems. Zero wire, zero mess, and a real peace of mind. With a simple press of a button, your alarm can be set or unset, or download the free app and control it from your phone. Call us today on 074 912 6025 and get your alarm from €299. Stay local, stay safe, and protect what you value most with Sheridan Security Systems.
Are you ready to experience something extraordinary? Cultural gems in Croatia, ancient temples in Asia, art in Italy. See more with Travel Department. Pick a destination and we'll arrange everything. Flights, accommodation, excursions, expert local guides, and all that planning. For guided group tours to dream destinations and savings on all holidays if you book before February 3rd. Go to traveldepartment.com. Travel Department. Let's see more. Terms and conditions apply.
Visit Sensory Complex for a perfect family day out. Kids will love exploring sensory play. We have lots of tasty options available at Backstage Bar and Grill. And at Sensory Cinemas, we're showing kids' movies, comedies, action and adventures, dramas and more. Get in touch on 074 9121976 or visit sensorycinemas.ie for more information.
The massive January sale is now on at Patterson's Kitchens, the Hall Lifford. Massive savings on kitchens, beds, sofas, dining sets and giftware with up to 50% off selected mattresses. Hundreds of products in stock and ready for delivery or collection. Open Monday to Saturday 9 a.m. till 5:30 p.m. Get yourself down to Patterson's massive January sale. Fabric World's biggest ever winter sale is now on. There's over 5,000 metres of curtain and upholstery now half price or less. All craft and dress fabrics reduced and lining from £1. Why not insulate your home with half price fleece interlining or avail of our fabulous Euro rates at Fabric World Maydown, Derry.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
Raymond Sweeney here from Ben Sweeney Aeronix to let you know about the Blomberg Integrated Dishwasher, which can save you time and money. When you're pressed for time,
if you're about to use an electrical appliance like your washing machine, which uses a lot of energy.
All right, okay. We are joined now on the programme by two gentlemen from AA Ireland, Blake Boland and Paddy Common. Blake, I'll say good morning to you first. How are you keeping?
Hello, hey guys.
Is that the two of you on the one call? Okay, very good. Nice to have you on with us.
No, we just got Jay Blake just arrived, so I'm Paddy. That's Blake.
It's okay, good to have you with us. Right, okay. So is this the first time anyone has driven from Mizenhead to Malin in an EV on a single charge?
We believe so. Yeah, we have asked whether anyone else has done it. We've asked some of the various EV groups. We haven't heard back yet, but we don't think so because basically there hasn't been the car that would do it. We are sitting in this car now. It's the Mercedes-Benz EQS. It is very, very expensive, mind you, but it is showing that the technology is there to do it. So we set out last Wednesday and we drove down to Mizenhead. Now we did that direction because it was a pretty stormy day, so we wanted the wind behind us, and we drove the close to 600 kilometers in about 9 hours or so, pretty much crawling over the line in Malin, but you know, we did manage it, and it is an indication that technology is moving on. However, there is a bit of an issue with charging points, because once we got to Malin, we were pretty much stuck. We had to put a 3-pin plug out the door of the Malin Headview B&B to try and get us a little bit of charge.
So you got all the way from Cork to Donegal, the tip of Donegal, and then you had to get the granny charger out.
Yeah, we got the granny cable out the door of the B&B. And
I don't know why it's called that, by the way. I hope it's not offensive to grannies. I don't believe it is. But anyway, it's a 3-pin plug.
Yeah, it's a slightly offensive phrase that people use for the 3-pin plug. But look, it was great to do it, but and it's great to see the technology coming on. But it was really an indication of you know, certainly for Donegal in particular, charging points are really, really hard to find, you know, and it is a bit of an issue as the technology moves on. And as sales increase, we're now 81% more than we were last year. So there really needs to be improvement, especially for you guys up in Donegal.
Yeah, Blake, what is the advertised range of the Mercedes?
Yeah, it's up past 700 kilometres in the WLTP range figure. However, they can be a little bit optimistic sometimes. You're always better off shaving a little bit off that. So we reckon that this Mercedes is a 600 kilometre kind of real world range car.
Right. Did you have the aircon on the way all the way up?
We did a little bit, yeah. It's a very, very high-tech car that we're in for the price you'd expect it as well. But it has a mode called Eco Plus. So the car is a heat pump as opposed to the usual heaters that we'd have in our car. So a lot more efficient. But what it does is it scavenges heat from the motor, the electronics and the battery of the car, puts that into the cabin and kept us at a temperature. I was happy enough in my hoodie the whole time, and that was plenty for me.
Yeah, okay. But I mean, of course, this was a test. This was to see just how far you could go. So, I mean, there's obviously going to be a bit of range anxiety built into that, because if you were stopped on the, ended up running out of juice on the dual carriageway out of Sligo, it wouldn't be very exciting. We wouldn't be having this conversation.
That's very true. But lucky enough, we had a little bit of extra confidence behind us because we do work for the AA. So it was just a case of bringing one of the guys and getting a little bit of assistance if we needed it.
For them to drive out in their diesel van and and hook you up to a petrol generator. But anyway, listen, I'm not anti-EV, by the way. There just is an irony there. In terms of the cost, do we know how much it cost on power? Not that, but this is kind of a factor, I suppose, as when people are considering, electric as an option. Though we have this thing built into us that if we do anything green, it has to be cheaper for us, and I think those days are coming to an end in terms of a lot of things, including EV driving. So I think that what we save, we're supposed to really be motivated by what we save in terms of the planet rather than our pockets. But anyway, as it stands right now, how much do you think this journey would have cost in electric versus petrol or diesel, I wonder?
Yeah, well, unfortunately, the answer to your question is how long is a piece of string? Because, when we're used to petrol and diesel rates, we have a national average, or we know we're going to go down the road and it's going to be somewhere between 160 and 165, give or take. But there's situations where people could be charging them for free because they've got solar panels on the roof. But if you're clever, you've got a night rate meter, we could have done that trip for in and around €15. However, if you charged exclusively on the high power ESB chargers, you could be paying up towards 60, €70, something like that. So there's a big variance. But, for the ease of answering you could say something like 25, €30, just having paid, standard home electricity rate.
And then obviously with a petrol or diesel car, that would have been, 60, 70, €80, depending on how you drove. A full tank of diesel for most people now, is close to €100. So that puts it into perspective. Obviously, a diesel car would have done it with ease, and we appreciate that, but the emissions would have been very different.
Yeah, and I think too, obviously you're in a state-of-the-art vehicle there. Even with I think, the 2023... average electric car, you probably would have done the same journey with one or two charges. Certainly two charges you'd have hoped to, wouldn't you?
Yeah, it's a good point. I actually did the same trip myself in a Tesla Model Y about 6 months ago, and I did the whole trip with a 15-minute stop just outside Galway. And that's a car now that you can get into for about €46,000, which is not extreme, not far off the average in the country.
Yeah, but the big problem is, and we've heard this from people in the industry as well, so it's not naysayers or, what have you, is the charging infrastructure. The 1 million electric cars, they've thrown that target out the window. I think industry expects it. We'll be lucky if we get to 500,000 at this point. But even if we do, and even if a lot of those are full electric, we really need to sort out the infrastructure here, don't we? Especially even for the tourism market, because, like a lot of people look at Google reviews now and what have you. Say you guys were a couple of tourists from Germany and you happen to arrive at beautiful Malin Head with the expectation that clearly they're going to have significant charging infrastructure here because it's so popular. And then you have to sort of beg, borrow and steal to get your plug-in through someone's front door. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's the infrastructure here is a real problem, I think, as you have highlighted yourselves.
You're right, Greg. And, what really struck us as we went back the next morning to Malin Head to take some photographs, and there's a toilet area, there's some handicap spots, but there's no charging points, and you think, right, this is an absolute opportunity. And as well as that, for some of the businesses as well, there are big grants for putting wall boxes in, and it seems like a missed opportunity for cafes and restaurants and the like not to put those in, because you have a captive audience for 40 minutes or so, and they'll have their lunch and they'll drink their coffee as they charge their car up. So look, yeah, more needs to be done for sure.
I wonder, has anyone done an analysis of what we would actually need? You know what I mean? Like, there's been numerous announcements over the last couple of years, because we would cover them on this, of ESB investment, of that investment. But really, in my route, I travel about 50 kilometres to work daily. I don't really, and I would keep an eye out for things like this, I don't see the addition of any additional charging points. On my route, there is one extra fast charger. There's a couple on the side of the street that you often see petrol diesel cars sitting in. You know, I'm just thinking, if lots of us had electric cars, how many would we actually need? I mean, has anyone done any evaluation of that? Because this is a little bit like the meetings that they have annually to talk about the climate. We seem to be talking an awful lot about it. We seem to know where we need to be, what the solutions are. But when you get down to it, how much is actually really happening? And for me, Blake, it feels not enough or very little.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And we remember seeing some words coming from ESB a few months ago saying that they feel that it was adequate at the time. And we know for a fact it's not, because, you know, my own personal car is an EV. I've been driving it for 5 years now. And I see queues sometimes when I turn up. Now, frequently, you know, let's say for me personally, 3/4 of the time, they're free. You just plug straight in and you go. But there's that chance that you can plug in at 8 o'clock, or, you know, you go to charge at 8 o'clock in the morning on your way to work. It's 2 cars ahead of you. And now it's, what am I supposed to do? So we need more. But also the crucial thing, Greg, is that we need them in the right places, the right chargers at the right places. So if you've got one charger in Carndonagh and one in Malin and so on and so forth, it's just not enough to rely on. So what we're better off with is these hubs. So, you know, if you turn up, there's 8 or 10 chargers there. And even if they are all full, somebody will be gone in a couple of minutes. It's fine. So it's a balance of both, and we definitely need a lot more. We need investment in it, and that needs to be led by the government as well.
Yeah, for sure. And Paddy, particularly given the fact that this is an area that there are an awful lot of detractors, and I'm not saying they're right or wrong, but you know yourself, people will talk about, well, how do we mine the sources for electric batteries? What do we do once they're finished? And what about the expense? And, you know, there's an awful lot of counter arguments to this. If you want people to go, actually, that's a viable option for me, and to sort of strengthen your argument in favour of them, you do need to get simple things like infrastructure correct, or else you're fighting a losing battle.
Correct. And what we've noticed from the surveys we would do to our customers, members, is that the primary reason people go for an EV is the potential cost savings. You know, we'd love to think that it's for environmental reasons, but it's simply not. So if people do start seeing the costs, and we are seeing the change in that, and look, electricity is increasing a lot, but there is quite a difference to be made now, not on the initial purchase price, but on the running costs. So I think once people start to see that, and as we look into the potential of diesel costs increasing in the next while as well, we might see people moving over for various reasons, cost being the primary one, but environmental being a happy byproduct of that.
Yeah, but we also have to accept that if the government makes an awful lot of money in terms of tax and what have you from petrol and diesel vehicles, and if there's less tax to take from that, they are going to have to sort of keep that. They are going to have to keep that revenue stream coming. Right, okay. A lot of people wonder, when do you guys think electric cars will become affordable to the average person? But I'm seeing electric cars advertised now. You know, they're not the main models necessarily, in and around, 28, 29, 30 grand, which is the equivalent to sort of a budget crossover type vehicle. I mean, are we at the point yet whereby people can make a choice if they're taking out a loan or whatever the way they're doing it, and there are EV options for their petrol or diesel first choice maybe?
Oh yeah, the prices we're not at parity yet, but it's getting a lot closer. So I think you touched on it there already. You can get into the MG4 now for €29,000, and that's a solid 300-kilometre car with space inside similar to a Golf, 0 to 100 time of 7.5 seconds with plenty of power. Great tech inside. The car will steer and power itself on the motorway with adaptive cruise control. And then only there a few days ago, Tesla announced massive price decreases. So you can get into a Model 3 now for about €44,000. So the prices are coming down. We're not at parity yet. And then the other thing that you look at is if you want to go in and order something like the ID4, some of the Audis, there's waiting lists that are approaching a year's time. So if you consider, why would a manufacturer lower the price down if they've got waiting lists for a product for up to a year? And we could see the bad. Like here's another example.
That being said, though, and I'm not sort of being argumentative, but Tesla's just dropped a significant lump off their cars into the Irish market, so I suppose maybe the global, there's a global element to this rather than just, but I take your point. And finally, how much is that car how much is that car worth? I mean, obviously, you've pulled a few strings at Mercedes here, I think.
The car that we are sitting in with options, mind you, is €168,000, so not affordable by any means. But
That's a nice three-bedroom bungalow for you in Donegal, by the way. Now, not great for the commute to work.
I think I would rather that. But I suppose what happens with these things is the technology does trickle down. So whilst this is not affordable for the majority of people, the technology does start to trickle down, and over the years you'll see it coming into more affordable cars.
Right, gentlemen. So really, you're the first until such time as someone else tells you they were the first to drive on a single charge in an EV from Mizenhead to Mallinhead. Is that really the safe space we'll leave that in? Yeah.
Yeah, and if people want to look at our YouTube channel, there is evidence of such. So unless someone comes back with the contrary evidence, then we can claim that we've done it. All
right, listen, thanks very much indeed. Safe journey home. We appreciate it. Thanks for your time. That's Blake Boland, Paddy Cummins, Head of Communications with the AA. Some of you listening aren't massive fans of the electric car situation. Actually, do you know what would be interesting? Because there's an awful lot out there as it relates about mining, the batteries. What do you do with the batteries into the future? What's the implications in terms of the production of electric cars on the environment versus and how the materials are sourced? We might actually get an expert on to discuss that. Because I'll read these comments out. I'm not 100% sure if they're true or not. I know there are sort of people who are maybe anti this agenda that push this stuff, or maybe they do care about kids mining materials in some other countries. I really don't know. But I think it would be a worthwhile interview, wouldn't it? And we'll get the facts one way or other.
Raymond Sweeney here from Ben Sweeney Euronics to let you know about the Blomberg integrated dishwasher, which can save you time and money. When you're pressed for time, you can choose a quick 30-minute or 58-minute wash cycle or an intelligent auto program for perfect wash results every time. The German-engineered inverter motor means it operates at low noise level, so it's whisper quiet. And there's a 7-year parts and labour warranty for peace of mind. Call in and see for yourself at Ben Sweeney Euronics, Port Road, Letterkenny, or in the shopping centre Dunlow.
If you're about to use an electrical appliance, like your washing machine, which uses a lot of energy, just ask the question, is this a good time?
Yeah, it's fairly breezy out. You're good to go.
If it's windy out, it is a good time, because wind generates renewable energy, which Ireland will be relying on more and more. To find out the best times for your electricity usage, sign up to our pilot at esbnetworks.ie/pilot.
Own your car from the start. At B&S Credit Union, you can do just that with a flexible and affordable car loan. Our friendly and experienced team will make the loan process easy and will be delighted to help you. Visit bnscu.ie or free phone 1-800-290-390. Loans are subject to approval, terms and conditions apply. B&S Credit Union Limited is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
We at Highland Radio love Irish music, and we want to show our support. Throughout Irish Music Month this March, in partnership with Hot Press Magazine, we're asking you to support the Irish musicians, artists and bands who make every party, every drive home and every day magic. That's right. To celebrate Irish Music Month on Highland Radio, we're asking you to support Irish artists and musicians by buying Irish albums, Irish tickets, Irish t-shirts and Irish music merch. Irish musicians have shown that they are right up there with the best in the world, so let's support them by buying Irish. Proudly supported by Highland Radio, Hot Press, IBI and the BAI Sound and Vision Fund.
Highland Radio weather updates with Ireland West Airport. Thinking of a sun holiday this summer with the family? Fly to Alicante, Malaga, Faro, Lanzarote, Mallorca and Milan with Ryanair. Ireland West Airport. Don't just take off, take it easy.
All right, thanks for all your texts and comments coming in so far. Keep them coming into us on the usual numbers. You know them, don't you? Let's have a look at the weather forecast. Cold this morning with a frost and icy stretches. They will clear slowly and may linger in places today. Will bring sunny spells and scattered showers, some wintry, highest temperatures of just 2 or 3 degrees with light to moderate northwest breezes. We'll be back after the news and obituary notices.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Digital loans now available. Apply online or via our app today and get your loan transferred directly to your current account.
Keep out the cold this winter and ring Fleming for their full range of garage doors, agri doors, insulated doors, milking parlour doors. Fleming, 91 48 234.
For day-to-day healthcare needs, generations have trusted the experienced staff at McGee's Chemist Letterkenny. From coughs and colds to aches and pains, from vitamin supplements to first aid essentials. McGee's have what you need when you need it, with a full prescription service available daily. McGee's Chemist, Main Street, Letterkenny. For healthcare help and advice you can always trust.
GiveBlood.ie know we can count on you, our community of blood donors, to give blood and to choose to be there for others in their hour of need. Blood donors from Manor Hamilton should attend the clinic in the B Park Resource Centre on Monday 16th of January, and donors from Ballybofey and Dunloe should attend the clinic in Jackson's Hotel in Ballybofey from Tuesday 17th to Thursday 19th. Making an appointment is recommended, so call 1-800-731-137 to book your time. Visit giveblood.ie to see eligibility and clinic details.
Fantastic offers this January at Cherrymore Kitchens and Bedrooms. Free boiling water tap with all kitchens booked. 10% off selected wardrobe ranges and much more. Book your free design appointment in our Donegal Town showroom today by calling Cherrymore on 074 97 25 822.
We at Highland Radio love Irish music, and as part of Irish Music Month on independent radio across Ireland, in partnership with Hot Press Magazine, Highland Radio want you to take part in our new Local Hero Talent Search. If you're in a band or a solo artist, your work could be featured live on Highland Radio in March. Be in with a chance to win an overall 10k prize fund, get your record released and have your music played on 25 independent radio stations across the country. For more information on how to enter, check out our website and social media pages now. Proudly supported by IBI, Hot Press and the BAI Sound and Vision Fund.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, I'm Michaela Clark with the news at 10 o'clock. Snow is causing much disruption on Donegal roads today. Drivers are being urged to exercise caution, particularly on untreated roads. A yellow ice warning remains in place for the country, with temperatures below freezing in many parts of Donegal. A similar warning is in place in Derry, Tyrone and Fermanagh. Hail, sleet, snow and freezing fog is expected over the coming days also. Public Expenditure Minister Paschal Donohoe says he deeply regrets the situation over undeclared costs in 2016, acknowledging that an additional spend of €1,057 should have been included on his statement for the general election campaign that year. It comes after a complaint against him was made to SIPO, alleging he failed to properly declare work around the erection and removal of posters. Sinn Féin TD Louise O'Reilly says Minister Paschal Donohoe needs to go into more detail of the work not declared.
What he hasn't done is he hasn't provided information about the 6 people. So he says that there were 6 people over 4 nights using a company van for some of that period and potentially using their own vehicles for some of it as well. But he doesn't say how they were paid, who had paid them, what was the value of the service that they had provided.
The Garda Commissioner is said to be questioned today on new policing system due to be rolled out in the northwest. The new model will mean the Donegal Garda Division will be combined with Sligo and Leitrim, with one superintendent looking after the entire region. Drew Harris will appear at today's meeting of the Donegal Joint Policing Committee. Its chair, Councillor Jerry McMonigal, says allocation of Gardaí to the county will be high on the agenda today also.
There was an allocation of Garda there over this last number of days. I have to say I'm disappointed that for the small number that's been allocated to the northwest. We don't know how many of them were allocated to Donegal, so the meeting will give us an opportunity to ask that. The policing model is based on 200 recruits coming out of Templemore every 11 weeks to bring the Garda numbers up to around 15,000. So we'll be asking, is them targets being hit?
A retired vet says the development of a new school of veterinary medicine in Ireland is vital, but progress is slow. Gerard Rorty says there's a shortage of vets, particularly in terms of vets to look after cattle, and that's a shortage that is being felt particularly acutely in Donegal. He says there are questions to be asked about how the design and procurement of the new school is being coordinated. Mr. Rorty is also concerned that in light of Brexit, there may be issues with joint recognition. He says a key issue is there is an expert evaluation committee overseeing the process, but there's very little veterinary expertise on it.
We have more dentists and doctors on the evaluation panel for a new vet school that we have. The academic qualifications and the pedigree of those 19 people are second to none. But they are not people who know an awful lot about designing new vet schools. They're not people that know an awful lot about veterinary academia.
Just over a third of Irish electricity was generated by wind last year. In total, 34% of power came from wind farms, up 4 points on 2021. According to an analysis from energy consultants Barinja, it resulted in Irish consumers not having to pay €2 billion for gas last year. The Exchequer also saved €340 million, which would have been spent on carbon credits for the gas. CEO of Wind Energy Ireland, Noel Cunniff, said significant progress has been made, but there is still a long way to go in order to reach 2030 targets.
Last year, wind energy provided just over a third of our electricity mix, which across the island is enough energy to power nearly 3 million homes. So we're definitely going in the right direction. And as you mentioned, it's avoiding a very significant cost in terms of the amount of gas that would be required to replace that wind energy. Where we're at today then is we're at about a third of our electricity coming from wind energy. And by 2030, we need to increase this up to 80%.
Weather now cold this morning with the frost and icy stretches. Today will bring sunny spells and scattered showers, some wintry with highest temperatures of just 2 or 3 degrees. That's all from Highland Radio News for now. We'll be back with an update again at 11 o'clock. Until then, good morning.
The obituary notices for this Monday morning, the 16th of January. The death has taken place of Susan Gibbons, Dergroa Clohan. Her remains will arrive at the Church of Our Lady of Perpetual Succour, Glenfin, at 5 o'clock this evening for reception prayers, reposing in the oratory of the church with rosary at 7. Family and friends welcome. Requiem Mass at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning with interment afterwards in Kiltyvogue Cemetery. Donations in lieu of flowers, if desired, to the Patients Comfort Fund, St Joseph's Community Hospital, Stranora, care of Patrick Gibbons. The death has taken place of Joshua Montgomery, Stoney, Ballynally, Moville. Removal today at 3 o'clock from Liam Collins' funeral premises, Culdaff, going to his home. Funeral arrangements will be confirmed later. Family flowers only, please. Donations, if desired, to Ash Ward, Buncrana Nursing Unit Patients Comfort Fund. Family time, please, from 11 p.m. to 11 a.m. and on the morning of the funeral. The death has occurred of Colette Patton, née Logue, 42, Parkside Gardens, Sign Mills. Colette's remains are reposing at the family home. Funeral from there tomorrow morning at 9:30 for Requiem Mass at 10 o'clock in St Teresa's Church, Sign Mills, followed by interment in the adjoining churchyard. The Mass can be viewed via the parish webcam. Family time, please, from 11 p.m. to 11 a.m. The death has taken place of Celine Clark, the bungalow, 3 Trees, Quigley's Point. Celine's remains are reposing at her home. Funeral from there tomorrow afternoon at 1:30 for 2 o'clock Requiem Mass in Sacred Heart Church, Muff, followed by burial in the adjoining graveyard. Celine's funeral mass can be viewed live at ishkaheenparish.com or on MCN Media. The death has occurred of Charlie Muhan, Drumbarron, Frosses. His remains will repose at his home from 12 noon to 9 p.m. today and tomorrow. Removal from there on Wednesday for funeral mass at 12 noon in the Church of the Blessed Virgin Mary, Frosses, with interment in the adjoining cemetery. House private, please, on the morning of the funeral. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu if desired to the Blue Stack Foundation, care of any family member, or John McGowan Funeral Directors. Charlie's funeral mass can be viewed online at MCN Media. The death has taken place of Eileen O'Donnell, Cornagilla, Convoy. Her remains are reposing at her niece Catherine Ryan's home in Knock, Ballabafay. House private, please, with family and friends welcome. Funeral from there tomorrow morning at 11:15 for Requiem Mass at 12 noon in St Mary's Church Convoy, followed by burial in the family plot in the old graveyard. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu if desired to the Patients Comfort Fund, Brentwood Manor Nursing Home, care of any family member or Terence McClintock, Funeral Director. The death has taken place of John Martin Kelly, Ballybrack, Moville. Wake strictly private, please, at the request of the deceased. Funeral Mass tomorrow morning at 11 in St Mary's Church, Ballybrack, followed by private cremation at Lakelands Crematorium, Cavan. The death has taken place of Mary Jane Orr, Cairn Lower, Remelton. Funeral service this afternoon at 2 o'clock in St Columkille's Church, Glenalla, followed by interment in Bank Cemetery, Remelton. The death has occurred of Margaret McGrory, Sharagore, Linsford, Buncrana. Funeral from her residence this morning at 10:30, going to Star of the Sea Church, Desert Tegny, for 11 o'clock Mass. Burial afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu if desired to Letterkenny University Hospital, care of any family member or Porter Funeral Directors. And the death has occurred of Vera Gilmartin, née Kerr, Luton, Cork, and formerly of Letcher, Urris, Clonmany. Her remains are reposing at St Michael's Church, Urris, with funeral mass this morning at 11, followed by interment in the adjoining cemetery. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu if desired to the Irish Wheelchair Association, care of McFeely Funeral Directors, or any family member. Vera's funeral mass can be viewed live on churchservices.tv. For more details, including any family health guidelines for wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
We're all looking into this new year with one eye on the cost of living. Where can we save a bit on the costs without cutting back on the living part? Well, here's something major. Buy your car insurance online with Liberty right now, and we'll give you up to 3 months free. That's the cover you want and the savings you need. That's Liberty Insurance. Future-proof. Acceptance criteria, terms and conditions apply. Liberty Seguros Company of the Seguros Area Seguros SA. Trading as Liberty Insurance is authorised by the General Directorate of Insurance and Pensions Funds in Spain and is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland for conduct of business rules. Up to 3 months free is equivalent to a 25% online discount. Applies to new private car policies only. Subject to a minimum premium and applied before optional covers.
The county's #1 talk show, The 9 till Noon Show on Highland Radio.
It's time for NCBI Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Monday, the 16th of January. You're playing on the green sheet. The reference number is S11. It's game number 3. The numbers are 28, 6, 38, 67, 40, 54, 63, 60, 34, and finally 23. Phone your claim to 9104833 before 8 tonight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book, and we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your NCBI bingo information at highlandradio.com.
Is your car or van winter ready? Get your free winter check now at Hegarty's Ford in Letterkenny. It includes checking your lights, wipers and coolant. Also, the most common cause of winter breakdowns, your battery. And what you depend on most to keep you safe on the road, your tyres, where the thread depth should be at least 1.6 millimetres. Hegarty's will check all these and more to keep you motoring safely through the winter and beyond. Get winter ready by contacting Hegarty's Ford in Letterkenny today.
PDO Thread Lifts, the ultimate non-surgical lift for the skin, improving facial contours, lifting and tightening jowls, the neck, cheeks and eyebrows, are available at Genesis Aesthetics and Skincare Clinic Udor. For help choosing the right aesthetic treatment for you, contact Mary Ferry, your aesthetic practitioner. Also offering fat-dissolving treatments, dermal fillers and laser treatments for all skin conditions. Hair and makeup packages also available. Genesis Aesthetics and Skincare Clinic Udor, 07495 325 75.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Now offering mortgages from €40,000 to €600,000 with no hidden fees or transaction charges. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127.
All right, you're very welcome back to the programme after the news, obituary, notices and bingo numbers there. We're joined on it now by Lorraine Toner, Head of Community and Donor Engagement with the Irish Community Air Ambulance. Good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Morning, Greg.
Right, now, you are one of two consultants in emergency medicine based here in the west of Ireland, and you want people to bike or hike the Camino this April to raise funds for groundbreaking services, the ground services, I beg your pardon. They're groundbreaking too, I suppose, to some extent, of the Irish Community Air Ambulance. Okay, so what is the Camino? Where is it?
I just before we start, I'm not one of the consultants. I actually work fundraising, so I'm organising the event, and I asked the consultants to come.
So they're Dr. Lisa Cunningham and Dr. Jason Horan. They're the ones going to do the heavy lifting. You're doing the talking.
I'm doing the organising, and we also have a consultant in Donegal who's really in favour of this trip as well. So the Camino is an age-old pilgrimage walk, and it goes from the east of Spain to the west, finishing in Santiago de Compostela. So it's about 800 kilometres long. We're going to take on a section of it. So we're going to do the traditional start, and we're going to start in the south of France, in Saint-Jean-de-Paul. There's going to be two groups, a group of cyclists and a group of walkers. And the walkers are going to walk for 6 days solid, about between 19 and 26 kilometres a day. And the cyclists, they're going to take on a longer distance. They're going to walk the guts of 400, or they're going to cycle the guts 400 kilometres. So they're going to finish further along on the way, and they'll go home from Madrid, and we shall finish up in Logroño.
Yeah, and this is a journey a lot of people take annually by choice. You know what I mean? Like, whilst it might sound like this is an endurance you're inviting people to do, there's an awful lot of people that do this annually. It's incredibly, incredibly popular. Yeah. You're inviting people to do it with a view to raising funds.
Yeah. So what we do is we make it very easy for people to take on the Camino. It can be daunting for some people, or maybe they're travelling on their own, first time doing something like this. So we organise the whole trip. We organise the flights, the transfers, the accommodation, their meals even, and we make that side of it easy. And in return, we ask that you raise €2,500 for our services. Now, those services, as we said in the press release, are to raise money to help us expand our ground services. And we're currently an air ambulance charity, but we'd like to do more with the voluntary doctors that we have on the ground and what they do for communities around Ireland.
Yes, and we've spoken about this before. Some at the moment are operating in vehicles really that need to be replaced and what have you. These are an arm of the emergency services. These in some cases are first responders.
A little bit different to that. What they are is they're generally consultants in emergency medicine. And what they do is they volunteer for us in our charity. So when a call comes in, a 999 call comes in to the National Ambulance Service, they'll recognise that there's an asset locally. So maybe in Donegal, they'll say there's a volunteer doctor there, like the Wood and Mayo, there's 2 doctors here. So what we do is we fund the car for them. And you're right, some of them do need to be upgraded, and we have great plans for that now in March. But the car is also full of high-level hospital-grade equipment that, paramedics wouldn't use because, as I said, they're mainly consultants. So they have portable ventilators, high-grade AEDs. They can actually, because they're so skilled, they can bring the emergency room to the roadside, the farm, the workplace. They can even anaesthetise patients. We've had some great success stories coming back from them recently. I know one doctor attended an out-of-hospital cardiac arrest. There was a local volunteer responder there giving compressions, but he, with his equipment and skills, was able to shock using a different machine, travel with the patient to hospital. There was a pre-hospital anaesthetic, and he was able to report that patient left the hospital a couple of days later in full health. So it was a great Christmas present. It was a Christmas call. And it was because of early interventions from a highly qualified doctor.
Yeah.
So when you're raising money, that's what it is. It's to make sure we can give these doctors everything they need to respond.
And in terms of the turnaround here, the Camino takes place towards the end of April, the 23rd. So it's not an awful. It's not. By the way, it's Jerry Lane that works with you here in Donegal, isn't it?
Dr. Lane is our
Dr. Lane.
volunteer
Okay, no,
in Donegal, yes.
because some of the stuff he told me and I put it to you and you said it was slightly different, so I was getting a wee bit confused there. Right, so it is Dr. Jerry Lane and we're in the right service here. Okay, that's fine.
Yeah,
So, yeah, this is April 23rd to April 30th, so this is not too far into the future.
No, it's not. It's not too far ahead, but there is time to both start training and fundraising. So what we do is, because we have a fundraising team here, we want to make this as successful as possible for participants. So I'll be on hand to give you advice on how to get your fundraising links, started. I'll actually set up a fundraising event online and you can just join and share a fundraiser that way. A lot of people like to organise events and raise as much money as they can in one go. So I'll be able to help and advise with that. The other side is, if you're walking, and you want to take this on, I'd start doing getting out walking a couple of times a week, and in particular that you would go for a long walk. So maybe on a Sunday, start at a 2-hour walk, and over the next couple of weeks move it up to a 3, a 4 or 5 hour.
Make sure you have all the right gear as well. And this is an important element to it. And I sort of said tongue-in-cheek earlier on about you doing the talk, and it's far more than that. You're making this, the admin side of things, you are doing that for people. So in other words, they can just focus on the training and using the tools you're equipping them with, the fundraising. You and your team are going to organise that element of things for people.
Yeah, I've done the Camino a number of times, so I'm pretty familiar with it. So even when people are nervous or have concerns, if they give me a call, I can talk to them about it and hopefully alleviate any fears or anxieties they have on the trip. Making it easy and making the trip successful for themselves and ourselves is the key in this. And we had a fantastic trip last year. We raised over €100,000 because of the power of the group. And we had a brilliant time on the Camino, both cyclists and walkers.
Yeah, and I imagine friendships and memories for life are made in this whole process as well. So you're calling for people that can either cycle or walk, is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
The one thing I would say, if you're going to cycle, make sure that you have a bike and you are doing some sort of cycling at the minute. There is time to up your training, but if you're brand new to cycling, I would really look at, am I able to cycle 60 or 70 kilometres every day for 6 days?
And people will know that themselves, I'm sure they'll. But it's just important that people don't think this is a leisurely 5K a day situation.
Yeah, it's a challenge. It's a challenge, and it's a wonderful challenge. And I suppose the rewards along the way, they're massive. As you said, the friendships that are forged, the sights, the sounds, the different cultures. Like, we start in France, we go over the Pyrenees, we finish up in northern Spain, a lovely little city. We pass through Pamplona, the bull run city. So there's lovely experiences each day, and each day brings something different on the trip. What I would say is, if you're considering doing this, get in touch today, because you want to make your mind up on it and get going, and we do as well. We're booking flights and we're getting accommodation sorted, so the sooner you can come on board, the better.
It gives you a good 3 months then to prep before events. Right. So how do people get more information or contact you or get all the details you've been outlining, Lorraine?
Yeah. Well, the best thing to do is just go to communityairambulance.ie/Camino. So it's communityairambulance.ie/Camino, or you can give a call to 021 4190 999. And that's our Cork office, and there's plenty of people there to talk to you about it. But as I said, if you go onto the website, you can start to fill out the registration form, and I'll be in touch.
Yeah,
I'll follow up with you.
Yeah, and as we heard from Mr. Lane not so long ago, he was giving examples of the real life-saving work that's ongoing. It's to ensure that can be done, maintained, enhanced, and that they have good, reliable vehicles to get to and fro as well. And whilst it's called the Irish Community Air Ambulance, and you've been perfectly highlighting this as well, a lot of the work is on the ground as well, and that's a big part of it.
We have a number of, between Dublin, Mayo and Donegal, we have a number of cars on the road. They're all responded potentially at the same time. The air ambulance is in one place at one time. This is a more localised service, and it's something that we have great ambitions to expand this year. Potentially next year there might be somebody coming on board in Donegal as well. and different counties across the country.
Brilliant. So it's one of those perfect situations. You can do a bucket list job. You can say you've done it, but also at the same time, you are raising funds for the Community Air Ambulance, Irish Community Air Ambulance, and as you say, over 100,000 last year, exceeding targets. Maybe those targets are going to be a bit more ambitious this year, but who's to say it could be bigger and better than ever? Because I think maybe a lot of people, even last year, maybe were hesitant about other things that were going on in their lives or whatever. Maybe this year the interest. Is it a limited amount of spaces, Lorraine, or can you adapt regardless of?
Yeah, we can adapt. I wouldn't like to see the group be so large that you don't have that nice group experience. But I'd be confident that we'll have between 20 and 25 in each group. That's what we're aiming to get.
And presumably a few well exceeded the 2,500 as well last year.
That's what happens. I think the more people engage with us in the lead up to the trip and they hear what we do, they become more passionate about fundraising. Like, for example, we had 2 of our doctors attended a major incident in Creasla in October. And I think everyone would clearly say that's an example of where a consultant in emergency medicine couldn't have been more best place to be.
No, bringing the ED to being able to effectively bring an ED to the scene of an awful tragedy like that was really quite remarkable. And that experience and organisation and the emergency action plans and everything else that was just kicked in.
We had 2 cars there actually. So, and these are life-saving moments.
Right, Lorraine, listen, thank you. Just remind us of the contact details once again for anyone. I'm sure people out there, their interest has been piqued and they will want your contact details, Lorraine. What are they again?
Yeah, so it's communityairambulance.ie/Camino or 021 4190 999. That's 021 4190 999.
All right, I hope you have a huge response last year. Hopefully you exceed that again this year. Thanks, Lorraine. Have a lovely day.
We'd love to have you. Thanks very much.
Bye-bye. Nice to speak to you. Lorraine Toner there, Head of Community and Donor Engagement with the Irish Community Air Ambulance. Right, on to some of your comments here. Nice and busy for Monday morning, by the way. Really appreciate it. 086 60 25,000 WhatsApps and texts if you're from outside the Republic. 00353 8660 25,000. Hi, Greg. Is it just me or is everyone very forgetful in the Dáil? But sure, we'll all move on. The great lesson to be learned. The law is just for us ordinary folk. I can understand exactly how you feel about that. And it's always too. And in fairness, even though I'm part of the system, you could say, I suppose, people will say, the latest exposés, if you like, as it relates to Mr. Donoghue, and others, Mr. Troy, Mr. English. These were stories that no one came forward and said, oh, by the way, I forgot something. I just thought I'd let you all know. It wasn't the established national newspapers or radio stations, for that matter, that exposed this. It was the work of 3 independent journalists outside of the system, in inverted commas, that explored these stories and brought them to the fore, which I think is a very important part of all of this. Today is Blue Monday, and everyone should make the most of the brightness and beauty of the snow that's falling. Is it Blue Monday because this is when people get... Why is it Blue Monday again? Is it because this is when people get their credit card bills or something? Is that why it is? Let me know. Or it's 60 25,000. I went into a shop to buy a phone. They don't take cash. Are they allowed to for that? It's not fair. I believe it's probably Vodafone. That's their policy. They don't take cash in their stores. Are they allowed to do it? At the moment, I believe so. There is legislation going through government that might compel shops that don't take cash to take cash. Does anyone know what the back road to Drumkeen is like to drive at the moment? Is that from Old Town in Letterkenny over to Drumkeen? It's one I would avoid. I've not heard anything at the moment, but given the weather, I wouldn't go near it if we're on about the same road. Hi, what's the roads like between Letterkenny and Derrybeg? Got NCT at 1:30 in Derrybeg, thank you, but good luck with that. We're not getting live updates as such. Anyone out there want to share what the roads are like in your area? We're more than happy to give it away. There's a donkey wandering the roads in Kirkstown. It's nearly been hit by a few cars. Please be careful. If it's your donkey, get it off the road. More and more coming in. Lots of you texting in about the electric car, the 2 guys driving from Malin to Mizzen to Malin. A lot of you out there not too impressed with the whole EV thing, but they're growing in popularity. Combined electric cars are outselling petrol and diesel, and in Donegal, hugely popular here as well. But maybe those who are opposed to the switch to the EV are more inclined to text. Maybe you're driving one. Maybe you think it's the best thing ever. 086 60 25,000 as well, just to try and make sure we're getting a bit of balance there.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook, and at highlandradio.com. The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering mortgages from 40,000 to 600,000 euro with no hidden fees or transaction charges. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127.
Winter sale at Brian McCormick Sports now on. In-store and online. Discounts of up to 30% off. Asics, New Balance, Brooks and Hoka footwear. GT2000, Gel Cumulus, New Balance 880, Hoka Clifton 8 to name just a few. Treat your feet in our winter sale. Grab a discount and stretch those legs. Look the part, play the part. In-store and online. Click and collect on bmcsports.ie.
Aoife, I only went and did it.
Stop.
Unlimited data calls and texts.
Go away.
And the first month is free when you switch.
Stop the light.
No contract.
Would you beware?
You'll never guess how much. €18.
No way.
At €18 a month for unlimited data calls and texts, it's almost too good to be true. Switch today at your local post office or at onpost.com/mobile. Onpost Mobile, for your world. Fair usage and T's and C's apply. Auto top up €18 for 31 days unlimited allowance, otherwise 28 days. See website for details.
Donegal Denture Clinic, Letterkenny. Denture problems? We can help. At Donegal Denture Clinic, we customise, personalise and tailor your dentures to suit you. Call us for a free consultation on 91 25 25 3. Find us at Ballyrain, Letterkenny, beside Rossin College. Medical cards welcome. For all your denture needs, call Donegal Denture Clinic on 91 25 25 3. Online at donegaldentureclinic.ie.
Here's another amazing Aldi offer. Our Grow with Aldi programme in association with Board Bia is now in its 6th year. It offers upcoming Irish producers the opportunity to supply Aldi stores nationwide. It's great news for our customers too, because they get to support local Irish suppliers and businesses. If you've got a product you want to tell the whole country about, apply now and find out more at aldi.ie/grow. Applications close 30th of January. Aldi, everyday Irish, everyday amazing.
Fabric World's biggest ever winter sale is now on. There's over 5,000 metres of curtain and upholstery now half price or less. All craft and dress fabrics reduced and lining from £1. Why not insulate your home with half price fleece interlining or avail of our fabulous Euro rates at Fabric World Maydown, Derry.
Okay, you're very welcome back to the programme. Just some updates from the roads. Thank you all out there for helping us out. The road from Dunloe to Fintown is extremely dangerous, says one listener. But the road from Fintown to Letterkenny over Mina Roy is quite clear, and it was pretty nasty yesterday. Another caller says the back road from Letterkenny to Drumkeen is not great at the moment. That does not surprise me. I don't believe that's a route that's going to be treated, and it's really quite elevated. Any updates on Letterkenny to Creasler route? I never heard anything negative in relation to that. I presume that's one of the roads that's on the gritting route, but if anyone wants to let us know what it's like. I'm on the road from Letterkenny to Ballabufey, but there is a tractor pulling cars out at Glen McQuinn. I'd say avoid that back road. Back roads are going to be pretty dodgy for the next few days because there's going to be very little respite. The daytime temperatures are really quite low. So that's the weather as it relates to the cold. What about rain, and what about going out shopping in the rain? Hiya, Rachel. Do you like
Hello.
that? Huh?
Yeah.
I don't get paid minimum wage because I can't come up with good segues. Come here. You're out shopping and you sent a picture. And it's a beautiful. It's a part of Letterkenny that I would frequent quite regularly. It's a big string of shops. That's what's that called? The new retail park, or what's it called?
I don't know. I don't even know what the name is. Just from Minari to M&S.
And then you've got like Argos and Boots and all those shops in between.
Yeah, great shops.
And there's a picture, right, from one end to the other, and there's one little section has some canopy, the rest doesn't. And you're saying they're missing a trick here.
Absolutely, yeah.
Tell me why.
No, it's just, that was last Wednesday, I think it was, and the only thing I bought was an umbrella because it was pissing rain, you know, between times. And it's just that, oh God, you know, why don't I have a canopy here like they have in Lidl or Aldi, you know, they have it over the trolleys.
Yeah.
Just a kind of a perspex thing. And they would get more shoppers. The shops were very quiet. And I thought, well, if I was a retail owner or own one of these shops, and it's a long walk, and a lot of people are maybe dropped by the bus or have to walk from one end to the other, and you'd be drowned.
And it's like walking around the outside of a shopping centre, really, because it's shopping centre style shops that are there.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people go from one to the other, make their way from the bottom up to the top or vice versa. And if it's raining, are you going to do that? I think you're onto something here. I think a canopy there might encourage people out to shop and to stay out shopping.
Oh, definitely, aye. Because it's raining a lot in Donegal, and it's not rocket science. Like, just put a canopy over the whole length of it. That's it. Like, it's.
But do you think the lack of a canopy is enough to make people go shopping elsewhere?
Yeah, I do. I mean, we're lucky we have a car. There's a lot of people who haven't got cars, but I mean, some people may choose, we'll go to Derry, where you go to the foil side, or you go to whatever the other place is. I'm not a shopper much anyway, but it would put you off, especially now there's internet shop now, please buy in Amazon. They need to entice more customers in, and if you're going to get soaked and drown, you're going to say, oh no, it's not worth the hassle.
You wouldn't move your car up and down that car park between shops, Rachel,
well, that's it. Yeah. Well, no, I will. Well, no, mate.
I can just see you now.
But, yeah.
but it's a really simple comment, but it makes an awful lot of sense. On a wet day, I think you'd be far more likely to visit more shops and stay out longer if the journey between them was covered. And it's not like we're reinventing the wheel. It is done elsewhere. It is easily done.
Yeah.
And you could do that entire strip. All right, okay. Listen, it's as simple as that. You think if people will go, well, should we go there? Oh, no, I might get soaked. We'll go somewhere else in the car. You believe people will do that or choose to shop online. So it's constructive criticism. I'd put this in the constructive criticism bracket, Rachel.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Right.
And there is some kind of a Donegal development plan or whatever for Letterkenny. Yeah. So if people throw that suggestion in, it might work.
Throw it in. All right. Rachel, listen, happy shopping. Stay dry.
Oh, same to you.
All right, take care. Thanks very much indeed. That's coming in from Rachel. Do you agree or disagree? As I say, it's a nice, simple one, but could make a difference. I was at the doctor this morning with a kidney infection and told there are no appointments until next week. It's absolutely ridiculous. Right, you rang the doctor or you were at the doctor? Because I presume with a kidney infection, really what you're looking for there is an antibiotic, aren't you? They'd have to do a pee test first, I'd imagine. But you could be in a lot of discomfort, pain for a week, right? I would have thought a kidney infection would be one that they'd want to get you in and have a look at. I'm sorry. I don't know what you can do alternatively. I'm not sure cranberry juice is going to cut it for you. Back on the roads, the crossing at Bank Corner on Main Street, Ballymena is crazy. It's only a matter of time till someone is killed. You have a yellow box, 2 main roads and a crossing on one spot. This work would not be seen in any other county. Someone must see the danger here every day. Is this also the place where you've got the access to a car park as well? If it is that part that you're talking of, every time I'm at it, there's confusion. There's confusion every single time of people going, well, who goes where? Pedestrians heading out onto the black and white crossing, but you've also got and then drivers pulling out onto the main street that are looking to the right, waiting for a gap to pull out. If it is the same junction, I have the exact same fears that you would have, that someone is, if they haven't already and we haven't heard about it, someone is going to get injured there. Greg, the ESB no longer look after the fixing of street lights. You have to call 1850 373 772 to report it, but you must have the number on the pole. Well, the advice I've had for as long as I've been doing this show is to take the number of the pole and ring that number. And we've had reports of, in some cases, them being fixed very quickly, in others, not quite so. I applied for the licence for a firearm 1 year and 6 months ago, and I'm still waiting. Does anyone know why there is such a delay? Was it a first-time application or a renewal? I don't know why there is such a delay. My ESB bill has doubled in price. We're an ordinary house and used nothing extra. Has this happened to anyone else? I think it's happened to everyone else, but please tell me you have switched provider, will you? Because if you haven't, you're sitting paying a higher rate for no reason. You can go on websites if you wish, or get someone to do it for you. I'd almost do it for you, to be honest with you, to save you money. But maybe you're well able to do it yourself, and you will be able to see. They tell you what you're expected to pay with your current provider and what you can expect to pay if you were to switch. And there are some fixed rate deals out there now, so you can switch and have some certainty. But there's some risk with that in case prices continue to fall. But please tell me that you've switched your electricity provider in the last year. Right, okay. We are going to take a very quick break. Stay where you are. Our next guest is just right around the corner.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Now offering MyCU current account and debit MasterCard, bringing full banking features, delivered with the same local trustworthy service of your credit union.
Dunstores Double Savers makes midweek meals simple and affordable. Step 1. Cook your Dunstores penne pasta just 59¢. Step 2. Roast some onions, a 49-cent aubergine and a 49-cent courgette. Step 3. Add the cherry tomatoes and some €1.29 Greek feta cheese. Step 4. Enjoy a delicious pasta dish for just €5.03. Shrink your January grocery bill even more with our 5 off 25 grocery vouchers. Double Savers from Dunstores. Always better value. Terms and conditions apply. Voucher can be used in the next grocery shop of €25 or more.
COVID-19 and flu viruses are circulating in the community. Keeping up to date with your recommended vaccines will make sure you have the best possible protection from serious illness. And everyone aged 18 to 49 can now get a second COVID-19 booster vaccine from a HSC vaccination centre or a participating GP or pharmacy. See what vaccines are recommended for you on hsc.ie or call our team in HSC Live on 1800 700 700 from the HSC.
Bingo every Monday night at Halfway House Bingo Burnfoot. Doors open at 7:30 with eyes down at 8:30. €2,500 must go. The snowball is now €1,650 on 45 numbers or less. If you're not in, you can't win. That's Halfway House Bingo tonight at 8:30.
Highland Radio weather updates with Ireland West Airport. Salah, Nunes, the Beatles. You can now fly to Liverpool 8 times a week with Ryanair this summer. Ireland West Airport. Don't just take off, take it easy.
So I think we're going to have quite a similar weather forecast for the next wee while. It is going to continue today. It's going to continue cold with frost and icy stretches this morning. These will clear slowly though, but they may linger in places today. They'll bring sunny spells and scattered showers, some of them wintry. Highest temperatures of just 2 or 3 degrees with light to moderate northwest breezes. And I think when the weather forecast says some of them will be wintry, I think you know the spots where we're most likely to see snowfall. I can think of, Drumkeen, Minaroy, Mountain Top, Barnesmore. You know yourself, when they talk about snow likely, it's those areas we're most likely to see it. Right, Danielle McKenna is project manager at Rialto Youth Project and joins us on the programme now. Good morning to you. How are you keeping?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Good. It's good to speak to you. Now, we learned overnight that Romanian police are expanding their investigation into former kickboxer champion Andrew Tate, seizing a fleet of luxury cars from his Bucharest compound over the weekend, raiding 7 more properties, including a newly renovated villa beneath the Carpathian Mountains. It's part of an investigation into him and his activities, with some really strong accusations being made against him. Andrew Tate, I think more people will have heard his name over the last week or so than perhaps would have before, unless potentially you're a young male. And I think most young males on any social media will have been fed Andrew Tate, his way of thinking, his misogynic views. That's a fair enough way of looking at it, Danielle, do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he has been around for quite a while now. We would have been, before Christmas, this name would have started coming up within our youth spaces and young men that we knew. And at first, we wouldn't even have known who he was. So it took us a little bit of time to research, to understand who was this guy, Andrew Tate, and what was the influence that he was holding over young men. And then it became very clear it was very much based around this idea of wealth and dominance that he was holding, and that if you acted in a certain way around being masculine, then you could have this type of life too.
Yeah, and normally that's at the expense of women. You know, I think he's claimed himself to be misogynistic. He makes no bones about how you treat a woman, that they are in some way subservient to you. And to act like that and to be like that is part of the success that he's trying to sell as a lifestyle.
Yeah, and see, the thing about Andrew Tate and men like Andrew Tate is that they use power and dominance as a way to build their not only their ego but also their kind of brand, and that they have this idea that if you can hold the same power and dominance, if you can suppress any type of vulnerability and be a man's man, be this tough guy persona, squash anything that has to do with femininity, then you will succeed. And that this is the whole thing around then you have young men growing up then with this idea that you have to hold power rather than build power or share power. And then these kind of messages get through as in you have to be the breadwinner rather than the bread maker ever of a family. So if you ever want to go into roles such as anything to do with caring, you are less of a man. And it's always with the message of you are lesser if you don't hold power. So
yeah, but also
really
there is this. But in terms of how young guys might interact with women or other young guys, it's about control and power too. His messaging could be interpreted as well, let's just use the example of a young girl saying no, but a young boy who listens to Andrew Tate believing that she doesn't mean no, that if I want something, I take it, and that's what makes me a man. So in other words, like in some schools, they're having to undo a lot of this teaching that people have picked up from Andrew Tate. That's how it can also manifest itself in the real world amongst young people, particularly.
Yeah, and it's really difficult. And I'm speaking from an Irish point of view. Consent has been an issue within Ireland for a very, very long time, and we have a lot of really kind of learnings around consent that are problematic anyway. And we're a very shameful country that we don't talk a lot about consent, and that we really struggle with things like embarrassment when it is something that's really important, that we begin to talk to our children from very, very young about consent, about their bodies, about, you know, even everything from somebody saying to you, oh, give me a hug, but actually you might not want to hug them. So we don't talk about this stuff. And even within the school system, we're trying really hard to work on kind of new ways of teaching that bring in lots of different ways to talk about consent. Because actually, if you have then men like Andrew Tate who are talking about things like, you know, oh, she might say that, but actually she might really want it, then, you know, it's further bringing the message to young men and boys. How are they being influenced by the world that they live in? And then how in turn can they influence the world? You know, and it's really difficult when there's platforms like social media giving that message and that continuous message again and again. And even though some people say, oh, they'll shrug it off, they know that he's, you know, this, that, the other, but actually it's the conditioning that men are teaching other young boys to grow up in. And that's when it can become really difficult. Yeah,
and for you or I to say, don't listen to what he's got to say, it's not really quite as simple as that, because an awful lot has been gone into brand Andrew Tate. Exactly. As I say, the lifestyle, the smoking, the cigars, the working out, the looking after your body. If you want it, take it. It's not just simply as a case to young men, and that's why we're having this conversation, because I think a lot of us parents aren't really familiar with this. It's not just quite as simple to say he's talking nonsense, ignore it, because it's been ingrained far deeper than that. Because particularly, say for instance, on the likes of TikTok, if a young fella or a girl, and I want to talk about the girls in a moment, if they watch one of his videos for any prolonged period of time, they are fed snippets of his information over and over and over again, and then he'll give some advice on positive mental health, and they'll go, oh, that's all right, and then he'll hit you with some of this other stuff as well. So that's why people might go, oh, you're making a big deal out of nothing. It's not. This is widely recognised as almost a deprogramming.
Yeah, and we work as a youth project here, and we do a project called What Does He Need, which is with Fiona Whelan and Broken Talkers, and it is about exploring with boys and young men dialogue about what do they need in order to grow up and make really good choices. And the thing about it is you never shut down a conversation, even if for you it's very difficult. Young people are trying to navigate themselves in a world that's really, really difficult, and telling them, oh look, you need to just not listen to that or stop talking like that is not going to work, because what needs to happen is they need to understand, they need to figure it out, and they need to critically think for themselves to be able to make really good choices. So for us, it's always about have the conversation no matter how hard it is, and listen to the young person to see where they're at. I mean, it's not so long ago that I was having the conversation with a group, and someone had called Andrew Tate a goat, and I was like, what's a goat? And you're laughing, and when they spelled it out, the thing is greatest of all time, so GOAT, and I was like, this is how ingrained this stuff is that people like him and others are being seen like this, and we have to unpack that with young people to help them figure it out.
Yeah, indeed. I was going to talk about the impact on women too, because there are girls that listen to Andrew Tate, and if they're impressionable, might feel that they belong in the box that he wants to put them in. I mean, there were 6 women identified as part of the Romanian investigation as to being mistreated by the Tate brothers. 2 of them have come out publicly to say, no, we weren't. It was all consensual. We were well looked after. But both of them had tattoos that read either property of Tate or Tate girl.
Yeah.
So they went and had this permanently tattooed on their body.
Yeah. And this is the really difficult stuff that, if you think about who are the most vulnerable in society, and, we work in an area where class issues are and young people are affected by inequality because of class. And if you think about some of the women that you're talking about, they are very vulnerable based on exclusion or race or identity or whatever it might be. And they are the ones who don't always have the access into other areas. So, they might not see that the world is giving them the same access because of inequality to education or employment or health. And then men like Andrew Tate come along and they say, well, I'll give you the world as long as you do what I say, da-da-da-da-da. And then it becomes very much about coercive control and financial control. And then for many people, we're only starting to learn about that kind of stuff. We're only starting to get the legislation around coercive control. And what does it really mean for people to hold that power and dominance over you? And unfortunately, it is the women who are always impacted by this.
Yeah.
And it is that it's like, is this, but it's okay, I have this really nice thing, but I still have to do da-da-da-da-da. I'm not allowed to talk to my friends. I'm not allowed to go outside wearing this outfit. But actually, it's okay because I have something really beautiful at the end of the week, or I have this lovely home, or, he charms me. And, this is a really difficult type of abuse that's very entangled around manipulation, charm and power and suppression of anything vulnerable.
Yeah.
So it can be really easy to get caught up in it.
And we wouldn't be talking about it or spotlighting it unless an awful lot of young people had been influenced by him. This is not just, scaremongering, or it could be, or whatever. There was a recent study of young guys who regularly consume Andrew Tate material, and a worrying proportion of them, for example, believed, like he seems to, that in rape, the victim has to bear responsibility. That's the type of stuff he's putting into people's heads. A caller says, I overheard a group of young lads glorifying Tate outside my local centre. It broke my heart. Right, so Danielle, also too, the problem is he's filling a gap or a void, and we try and talk not only about young people, but to young people on this programme as much as we can, about, their views being listened to, as I say, talking to them, not about them. But a lot of young people feel like they don't matter, they don't care, their views don't matter. Then you get someone that comes in and says, yes, they do. I care about you. This is why the world is against you, or this is how you have to make your way in the world. Maybe part of our responsibility is to fill that void that the likes of Tate is filling. Yeah,
I mean, one of the things I suppose that's really shone through for us is the lack of conversation that particularly men are involved in around this stuff. So we've had this project going since 2018, and it's really interesting that now, since the stuff with Andrew Tate, that we are getting the kind of the time and the space in the wider kind of society through media to have the really hard conversations. But for us, it's like none of these issues are new. We've been working through these since then and before that, But the thing about it is that I'm very, very, conscious that I'm a woman saying this around masculinity and the shape of masculinity in the current situation in society right now. But the issue that we have is that there's not men coming out and talking about that. So if you have a look at any of the research and it looks at role modelling, when boys and young men want to have a role model, the research shows that boys look to men for role modelling, and they look for them around learned behaviour and all of those kind of things. Yes, they often admire their mothers and have, a real respect for women in their lives. But if they want role modelling in terms of career, the type of man that they want to be, they look to other men. But men aren't, unfortunately, having this conversation. So one of the things that we're really trying to promote is get men involved.
Yeah.
So even though we're
I think it's a really good point you make there, Danielle. And I think the conversation, not on this platform, but maybe another, could be really widened out to ask why men feel that they can't speak out anymore. Do you know what I mean? Because to some extent, this whole Andrew Tate thing is a pushback against what some might call the woke culture, right? So let's just say it is. But I think there's an awful lot of people in between the woke and the Tates that feel that they can't put their head above the parapet because they don't know what the right thing to say is, or they might have it chopped off. And I think just we need to find a space.
Yeah, but that is exactly it, because we've done workshops through What Did You Need with men. We've done lots of them, and some of the things that men would say to us is that men police other men. So they keep each other in check and they check each other's behaviour, that you're not going outside of a particular conversation. And then there was a big thing around these groups, the social media groups, the WhatsApp groups, that, all these images and stuff get shared, and men often don't say anything about them because they have a fear of what will the other men think about it. So there's a lot around men together and figuring out the relationship that they have with each other.
Yeah, I think we need to break past that though, because I think, with respect, Danielle, and it's not just in men, I think in general, I think we're now in the space where birds of a feather flock together, and I'm not sure there's a massive amount of interaction. I think maybe one or two guys might leave a WhatsApp group that they don't like what's going in there, but I just think they then find a WhatsApp group that suits them, and we're not. I just feel that we're splitting into packs right across society. We did a conversation on this programme not long ago, before Christmas, about peer-to-peer abuse in this county. I'm not blaming Andrew Tate for it, but the statistics for Donegal were incredibly worrying about young people reporting abuse from other young people. But we cannot rule out the type of influence that this type of stuff on social media might be having. As I say, it seemed to be a particular problem here in the Northwest.
Absolutely. And there is, the social media platforms and what gets shared, there needs to be other types of monitoring around that. If that is the messaging that's coming forward, often people would say, blame parents, that, parents shouldn't be allowing their children to look at these things. But actually, that's also another part of the jigsaw. So, it needs to be like a collective approach. And there needs to be more conversations, not only, around at home, but also in school or in youth projects, to really just to figure it out.
Yeah, and again, unfortunately, what we see now is you have one group of individuals pitched against another, and we're not finding any solutions to an awful lot of our problems in this life because of that. We really need to find some place for mediation, for moderate views, for conversation, for changing of opinions, because everything now, it's just you find what you believe in and you stand in it. Doesn't matter what happens, you stay there, and it's just not getting us anywhere, I don't think. How do you speak in a minute or two? How do you speak to young people then to tease out their views, to maybe, if required, deprogram some of this stuff that might be in their minds?
Yeah, and I suppose a minute or two would never do it. This stuff is really hard, and it needs critical questions that you're not sitting in.
Well, do you have those, Danielle? Would you rejoin us after the news at 11? Or I don't know if you have any other appointment, but we can give it a bit longer after the news at 11 if you're all right with that.
Okay, yeah.
Or maybe signpost us, Danielle, instead. That might be better in terms of time. Like, rather than us maybe try and get through on air, are there resources out there that parents can go to sort of maybe get more of the questions that we don't have time for this morning?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose for us, we have a website called whatdoesheneed.com.
Perfect.
And there's a huge amount of that. There's also it's very creative. There's an audio piece as well on it. There's boys that have been created, and actually there's animations that have been made by boys exploring this type of stuff. So we always believe in creativity as a way to explore things, and for young people to really be able to express themselves.
Okay.
And
that website one more time, Danielle.
Yeah, so it's whatdoesheneed.com.
Whatdoesheneed.com. Listen, thank you so much for your time this morning. I really appreciate it. I think it's a really important conversation. Danielle McKenna, Project Manager of Rialto Youth Project.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Simplify your debts with a debt consolidation loan from Letterkenny Credit Union. Call us on 074 910 2126 or apply online via our app or in office today.
COVID-19 and flu viruses are circulating in the community. Keeping up to date with your recommended vaccines will make sure you have the best possible protection from serious illness. And everyone aged 18 to 49 can now get a second COVID-19 booster vaccine from a HSC vaccination centre or a participating GP or pharmacy. See what vaccines are recommended for you on hsc.ie or call our team in HSC Live on 1800 700 700 from the HSC.
You may think you know driving, but you don't know Nissan e-Power. An electric motor that brings you the performance and response on the road that you demand, charged by a petrol engine as you drive. The thrill and economy of electric driving without ever having to plug in. And it's exclusive to Nissan. Who said you have to plug in to drive electric? Find the drive you've been looking for with e-Power. Now available in the new Nissan Qashqai, a unique electrifying experience now unplugged. Nissan, innovation that excites.
Donegal Denture Clinic, Letterkenny. Denture problems? We can help. At Donegal Denture Clinic, we customise, personalise and tailor your dentures to suit you. Call us for a free consultation on 91 25 25 3. Find us at Ballyrain, Letterkenny, beside Rossin College. Medical cards welcome. For all your denture needs, call Donegal Denture Clinic on 91 25 25 3. Online at donegaldentureclinic.ie.
Stylish nights and memorable delights await at radsligo.com with our fantastic January sale. Escape it all with 25% off B&B stays and enjoy a well-deserved breakaway. Indulge in afternoon tea overlooking Sligo Bay, relax with a treatment at the spa, enjoy a delicious meal in the Brasserie and Waves Bar, or surround yourself with the best of Sligo's outdoor pursuits right on your doorstep. 25% off sale ends 31st of January. Book now at radsligo.com.
The county's #1 talk show, the 9 till noon show on Highland Radio.
Okay, it is 11 o'clock. Stay right where you are. Loads to come in the next hour, but first, let's get a news update and say good morning, Donald Kavanagh.
Thank you, Greg. Good morning. 66 patients were without beds at Letterkenny University Hospital this morning, 24 of them on trolleys in the hospital's emergency department, a further 42 people waiting elsewhere across the hospital. The NMO says Letterkenny today is the most overcrowded hospital in the country. Nationally, 506 admitted patients were awaiting beds at hospitals this morning. A second status yellow weather warning for low temperatures and ice takes effect nationwide this afternoon. Met Éireann is warning of icy stretches from 4 o'clock, leading to hazardous conditions, especially on untreated roads or paths. A separate similar warning is in place at the moment. It expires at midday. The Garda Commissioner is to be questioned today on the new policing system due to be rolled out in the northwest. The new model will mean the Donegal Garda Division will combine with Sligo and Leitrim, with one superintendent looking after the entire region. Drew Harris will appear at today's meeting of the Donegal Joint Policing Committee. He's been invited on a number of occasions in the past. Just over a third of Irish electricity was generated by wind last year. In total, 34% of power came from wind farms. That was up 4% on 2021. According to an analysis from the energy consultants Baringa, it resulted in Irish consumers not having to pay €2 billion for gas last year. The CEO of Wind Energy Ireland says significant progress has been made, but there is still a long way to go to reach 2030 targets of 80% of energy being generated by renewable means. The completion of the Muff to Derry Greenway has moved a step forward. It's been confirmed that a contractor has now been appointed to deliver the Coolmore section of the project on the Derry side of the border. And a retired vet says the development of a new school of veterinary medicine in Ireland is vital, but progress is slow. Gerard Rorty told the 9 till noon show today there's a shortage of vets, particularly in terms of vets to look after cattle. That's a shortage that's being felt particularly acutely in Donegal. He says there are questions to be asked about how the design and procurement of the new school is being coordinated. Mr. Rorty is also concerned that in light of Brexit, there may be issues with joint recognition of qualifications. And we're back with news headlines again at 12 noon.
Thank you very much, Donal.
The McPlant. What? 100% vegan? Even the cheese? But how? Can't be. Can it?
It really is. The McPlant from McDonald's, with melt-in-the-mouth vegan cheese, a delicious sesame-seeded bun, vegan mayo, and a juicy Beyond Meat patty. It's our iconic taste, plant-based. Served after 11 a.m, subject to availability.
All right, Sarah joins us on the show now. Hi, Sarah.
Hi, Greg. How are you?
Good. Good morning to you. Right, just following on from our conversation as it relates to Mr. Tate before 11 o'clock, what's your view?
Well, I suppose I text in as a parent. Now, I haven't listened to Andrew Tate, but because he's been mentioned so much in the media recently, I had a conversation with my son last week and some of his friends in the car. And I kind of got the impression that teenage boys are feeling a bit lost at the moment, that they're afraid to voice their opinions, that it's all kind of pro-women, pro-LGBT and things like that. And I think Andrew Tate is coming in as a bit of a role model because he's, as I said, I haven't listened to him, but I kind of got the opinion from them that he's kind of pro-men, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so he's giving them a voice that they feel like the lowest common denominator, right? A young heterosexual male sort of a thing. Is that?
Yes. Yeah, that'd be the best way of putting it.
Yeah.
That they don't feel that they have a voice at the moment. Now, my daughter was in the car at the same time and she was like, but he's anti-women. And the boys were going, he's not anti-women. So I don't know how the boys are interpreting him compared to what adults might be picking up. As I said, I haven't listened.
I think it's not as much that
he's on my agenda.
I'm not thinking as much that he's anti-women. It's more the role or the place that he sees women, if you know what I mean. So I can understand how your daughter might feel that he's anti-her or what she hopes to achieve in her life or what have you, but can also understand then how the younger boys might feel, no, he's not anti-women, but they probably wouldn't go on to say then, he just believes that your role's not quite as you might think it is, if that makes, if that's...
And I suppose
I can see how both of them
difficult for me to interpret because I haven't listened, but yeah, both of them, my daughter was asked the impression he was anti-women, and the boys were saying that he wasn't anti-woman, and that he's kind of pro, not spending too much time on social media, not spending too much time. And again, as I said, I haven't listened to him, but not spending too much time on computers or computer games, that you have to be going out and working. So this is just a conversation from the car the other day, that they felt that there was a lot of positive things too that he was saying.
So if you had no concerns...
again, I haven't listened to it.
Sorry, Sarah. Beg your pardon. So if you had no concerns and they just said, oh, by the way, Sarah or Mum, there's this guy called Andrew Tate on the internet and he says this, that and that, right? So say from what they told you in that conversation, you probably wouldn't flag that as negative as such then, would you? You'd probably go, oh, well, that's good. You seem to be getting influence from someone who's teaching you to stay off social media, who's teaching you to, you have to work hard for what you want to achieve. You can't sit in your backside and do it. On the face of it then, it would sound like a positive message.
Yeah, from the conversation that I was getting with the boys they were picking positives up from it. And as I said, I will stress again, I haven't listened to him. It's on my to-do list because, the conversation needs to be happening with the boys to make sure, that they're not picking things up wrong. But from what I gathered from them, it was all positive. It wasn't anti-women. And again, this is just what the discussion in the car from them.
Well, let's put ourselves in the position of teenage boys then, heterosexual teenage boys, if that matters, but perhaps it does. So they're in the school environment. Are there any sort of talks that are geared to elevating them? Are there any posters or murals on the wall to celebrate them, or to sort of, or maybe life is set up that really the default position is that if you're that fella, you're okay. Do you know what I mean? But clearly there's something in that setting that makes them feel like, as I'll go back to the earlier crude way of putting it, that they feel that they're the lowest common denominator. Then that must be what they're feeling.
Yeah, and I think so as well, because they were talking about how, there's mental health campaigns or, campaigns around LGBT, and if they're being bullied and stuff like that in school and highlighting the numbers, but there's nothing like that around boys. There's campaigns for women, but there's nothing for boys. There's campaigns around refugees, people of colour. And I think the boys are just starting to feel lost.
Yeah, but those boys aren't.
In everything.
Those boys are far, far, far less likely to be raped. They're far less likely to be
I agree,
the victim.
yeah.
But obviously someone needs to message this to them, Sarah. I'm not sort of counterpointing you. I get exactly what you're talking about. But they're not going to be, possibly if they're white, they're not going to be racially abused. They're not going to...
Oh, no, I 100% agree with you, but I think...
that needs to be part of the conversation then, doesn't it? So they
and it totally was.
Yeah.
But I think I think as adults, or if you're at a certain age, you have grown up where people have been, racially abused, etc., etc. But these boys have just been growing up with campaign after campaign, and there's nothing. Now, I totally agree with what you're saying, but I think from their perspective, they don't know any different.
Yeah, and I'm not saying...
If you know what I mean, and that's all that they're seeing.
I don't want you to
But I agree with what you're saying.
I don't want you to think I thought that's what you should be saying. I'm on about in the social media world or in the school environment, maybe they should be reassured of their space in society, and that's why we focus on other areas, if you know what I mean. I'm not saying you or me or whom. I'm just, I just want to maybe the space that they're in should account for that, so they understand that. Oh, right, okay, right. I understand now why we're focusing on maybe females, or we're focusing on members of the LGBT plus community. That's why they're not doing campaigns for us. Do you know what I mean? Just the messaging and to make sure, lads, you understand what's going on here. So I also agree with you, Sarah, if that makes sense. I wasn't saying you should be in the car saying it, but I just think we should understand that there's a vacuum here, and it's like the vacuum I talked of to Lorraine before. There's something happening here that people like Andrew Tate's able to go in and fill, and these people, young lads feel he's talking to us, he gets us.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. They need to find that wee bit of space as well in society.
Yeah, and I think too at the end of your text,
they're just getting lost in all of the conversations.
For sure, yeah.
But those conversations still need to happen. I'm not saying that they shouldn't happen. They need to happen. But I think teenage boys and probably even men out there are starting to feel a bit lost. Sometimes a woman can say something and nothing is said of it, but if a man said the exact same thing, they'd nearly be torn to shreds. So I think it's difficult for them at the moment. And that's coming from a woman's point of view.
I get you, and it's really
I could be completely wrong.
And also, too, am I reading from your text correctly that you're saying, see, even with the refugee situation, that are you saying that, women are seen as they're safe and everything's grand, and kids, of course, are safe and everything's grand, but if you happen to be a man, you're the big bad wolf? Is that the point you were making there as it relates to the... I don't want to put words in your mouth, it's just...
No, well, I don't know. I think just from speaking with the boys, there seems to be a place for everybody else, or everybody else seems to have a voice. or somebody speaking out for them. But the teenage boys and probably young men don't have anybody speaking out for them. And maybe, as you said, that's where Andrew Tate is filling that gap. Well, and as I said, I haven't listened to him. So
no, I get you.
I don't know, but
listen, when we talk about, say, positive mental health, we recognise that particularly with young lads, there's an issue. There can be more of an issue with mental health. We do talk about that quite a bit. I'm just teasing this out as we go, right?
Yeah.
I think too, if we talk about, say, for instance, young girls not getting abused or assaulted, we're also talking about the future of the young fellas that could be found guilty of perpetrating such acts. So a lot of this is set up to sort of make them better people and to protect them, but clearly there's some issue with the messaging that they feel that they don't matter and everybody else does. Do you think that's...
Yeah, I think potentially. Well, from the conversations in the car the other day.
Right.
Yeah, and there was 3 teenage boys, and that was the impression that I was getting from them. And again, that the messages that they were picking up from Andrew Tate was all positive. They didn't feel anything negative, or they didn't think that anything negative was being said against women.
Yeah.
And as I said, I haven't listened to it, and obviously there's multiple experts coming out over the last few weeks saying what he's saying is negative against women. But yeah.
But you know, in a way, Sarah, and I think these young people in the car were very lucky to have you in the car as well, because you don't see the people that are mad to defend him and see the people that are mad to sort of, when I say mad, I mean they just want him annihilated from the face of the planet. I think you're somewhere in between, and you know, you've got the clarity of that sort of middle ground to look at this from all angles and find what's best for those young fellas. So, and I don't mean this patronising, Sarah. I think they're very lucky that it happens to be you that's asking that question, because I think you're in the best position to guide them and let them think for themselves and find what will be the right path, rather than them feeling that they have to pick a side. So I think they're lucky to have you, Sarah.
Thank you. Yeah, it's I don't know. It's difficult, I think, for.
Do you know what's difficult, Sarah?
Boys, anyhow, and
what's
women,
difficult?
and
being a parent. Being a parent's difficult, isn't it?
Certainly is with social media, and
it's an absolute minefield to be.
Yeah,
a parent.
and I think there's so much access now to social media and things online that you know, I didn't even know that they were listening to Andrew Tate until I brought it up in conversation the other day with them, or as so many people said now, they didn't even know who Andrew Tate was until, the last number of weeks. But I think it's important that the conversations are being had with them. And as I said, I need to listen to him myself to kind of, it was hard for me to have the conversation with them as well, because I don't know what he's been saying.
Sarah,
only from what the experts are coming out and saying.
If you find the time, I would love to chat to you again after you listen to what he had to say.
Okay.
If you have the time. I know you've an awful lot of balls in the air juggling, but if you do sort of have the space and time, get back in touch with us. I'd love to get your assessment of, because of the clarity that you seem to have, I would love to get your assessment of what Tate has to say on things. So if you can, I'd love to chat to you again, Sarah. It's been lovely chatting to you this morning.
Okay.
Take care. Thank you so much indeed. Slight delay on the line with Sarah there. So my apologies for that, but her points come across loud and clear. And there's a few comments actually coming in along those lines as well. I would love just to have a conversation, as I say, of a position whereby I'm learning. I've learned from Sarah. I found her views interesting, rather than, the extremes of it. But anyway, listen, I can't control the conversation. We'll just have it. 086 60 25,000 WhatsApps and texts.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Do you need to switch your current account or loan? We are now offering MyCU current account and debit MasterCard, bringing full banking features and competitive rate switcher loans.
I think he enjoys the visits and calls. At the start, he was a bit quiet, but I soon got him going. And so now we talk about all sorts, and he knows I'll help him out with a bit of advice when he needs it. I often say to him, "Isn't it lucky you started volunteering with a loan? Otherwise, you never would have met me.
It feels amazing to make someone feel amazing. Volunteer with Alone. Find out more at alone.ie/volunteer.
If you're having any hearing difficulties, at Donegal Hearing Clinic, we can help. If your hearing loss is slight but you want to look into it, or it's got to the point where you've no other choice, we'll do what it takes to resolve your problem. It may be as simple as a wax removal. Donegal Hearing Clinic, Pierce Road, Letterkenny and Milltown Business Park, Buncrana. Call us on 07491 88470 or visit donegalhearingclinic.ie. Life sounds brilliant with Donegal Hearing Clinic, Letterkenny and Buncrana.
Banking can make you feel a bit. So why not switch to a provider that helps you take control of your finances? The On Post Money current account lets you see exactly what's going on with your money and gives you control with the tap of a button. Switch with the On Post Money app or pop into one of our 900 plus post offices. You don't even need to make an appointment. Take back power over your money today. On Post is authorised by the Minister for Finance to provide payment services and is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland in the provision of such services.
Bingo every Monday night at Halfway House Bingo Burnfoot. Doors open at 7:30 with eyes down at 8:30. €2,500 must go. The snowball is now €1,650 on 45 numbers or less. If you're not in, you can't win. That's Halfway House Bingo tonight at 8:30.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com.
Welcome back. HSE data obtained by Photo Ireland shows that a total of 1,775 Donegal patients were waiting over a year. In total, 3,698 people were on October's Donegal ophthalmology treatment waiting list. Clodagh McGovern is a Photo Ireland board member. You do call it Photo, Clodagh, do you?
Photo, yeah.
Right, okay,
it stands for the Federation of Optometrists and Dispensing Opticians.
Right, okay. So the patients waiting in Donegal, age 0 to 469, 5 to 17, 121, 18 to 64, adults, 878, over 65, 707. So what kind of appointments are these people waiting for, Clodagh?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So I suppose for the adult population, it's more like age-related macular degeneration, glaucoma, cataracts. And then for the younger group, the under 17, is waiting for a regular eye examination. And I suppose what we're trying to highlight is that, research shows that 60% of these existing outpatients could actually be released out into primary care, out into the local optometrist, and thus freeing up the ophthalmologists and the surgeons to do what they're really good at, and also allowing us to reduce the waiting list. So there are ways around reducing these waiting lists, and that's, I suppose, we're trying to appeal to the HSE and to Stephen Donnelly to make these changes.
Yeah, I get you. I mean, you've identified a problem and you're identifying a solution, and obviously it'd be in the interest of Photo members as well as the people they'd be treating. So I wonder do we have a figure or even a guesstimate of how many of these appointments, 1,775 for Donegal patients, would actually be in Donegal? Because some of these services I think are provided in Sligo. Do we have any idea if?
No. So that when they release the figures, it's just linked with the counties. So I suppose with Sligo, there's a really good pilot in there at the minute that you're obviously aware of. And just to explain to your listeners what that looks like, it's the only place we're doing shared care in the country. So if you went in and instead of having to go back into the hospital for your follow-up appointments, you'd actually be going back into your local optician. And that's what shared care looks like. And as a result, in Sligo, it's been really successful because it's reduced the waiting list. And also, it's so much easier on patients if you're living several, or 100 miles away from the hospital, but you're only a few miles from your local optometrist. It's a win-win for everyone. We can reduce waiting lists and also make it easier on patients. So that scheme in Sligo has been only a pilot scheme, and what we would love to see is that rolled out nationwide, so that everyone would have the same access to that sort of shared care scheme.
Yeah, I mean, much of this waiting list could be cleared very, very quickly, I'd imagine. A lot of those young people going in for eye tests, because I did that with a couple of mine, and then at some random point, they say, you're not coming back to this place anymore, you're going to Specsavers or some other opticians, So, I mean, some of this obviously might be more complex, and I'll tease that out with you, but an awful lot of this I imagine people could start getting appointments in days.
Oh, days. And that's what we're trying to appeal, is that what we would like to see is that we can develop a new program for school children. So optometrists have the capacity and also the expertise to see children in communities. But the system that exists at the moment is that a child is screened in their infant years in school. And if they fail that screening, they're then put on the waiting list to see an ophthalmologist. And what happens then is that child could sit on the waiting list for a year or longer. Whereas if the HSE were to collaborate with the local optometrist, that person could be seen within a week or two.
And what they get done when they wait to go on that list to see an ophthalmologist is the exact same that they could get in your local opticians or your big opticians or whatever it is. There's no, it's not like they're doing anything that can't be done, and then you can get glasses prescribed. I presume, say for instance, if there were corrective lenses needed for a weaker eye, your local ophthalmologist would be able to do that as well. It's not something that's
the local
unique.
optometrist.
It's optometrist.
So the ophthalmologist is kind of, no, you're okay. I know it's a mouthful, isn't it? No, so the ophthalmologist is based in the hospital, and it's the optometrist.
But they're the same people, aren't they?
No.
I mean, they do. Sorry, they do the same job, do they not?
For the children, they do.
Yeah, okay, for the children. Yeah, that's so. We'll move on to the other age groups then. So I just wanted to.
No, can I just make one point on that before we move away from the kids? Because a really important part of it is that we know that early intervention for children and their eyes has a significant impact on what their lifelong vision will be. And if we leave children on a waiting list and we don't intervene in time, they potentially have the consequence of that for the rest of their life. So the children's waiting list is actually very significant. And, you know, if we know that, we shouldn't leave one child on a waiting list. Not alone in Donegal, there's been 190 children on a waiting list for over a year. And unfortunately, it's the worst waiting list in the country at the minute is in Donegal. And it's not right to, I just think in this day and age, you know, we're 2023 in a developed country, we know better, we know early intervention works. You know, we shouldn't be leaving children on a waiting list for one day.
All right, just one other question on that then. So, can a parent or guardian then say, I'm going to be sitting on this waiting list for another year, I'm just going to go straight into my opticians and get it sorted? Yeah. So they can do that. They're not, but
no, they can. Of course, they can. They can go into their local optometrist, but the HSE doesn't cover that. So, in order to access free eye care for a child, you have to go through the system that's there at the moment.
I'm not sure if it's worth it, and I know it's easy for me to say that because, you know, everyone's got different levels of resources, but with what you're talking about, you know, I'm not sure if the saving is worth it at all. You know, if you can find some way to find your money. I
know, but I suppose it's not right either. And the HSE have a responsibility to every child in this country so they can access free eye care. And so I think, yes, a parent could do that, but I think it's up to the HSE to step up and to facilitate that eye care for every child in this country.
And as we get older, it's a mixed bag, of course. It's a difference between, presumably it's a mixture between treatment and aftercare, a combination of which would also greatly ease these waiting lists, I'd imagine.
Oh, hugely. I mean, as I said in the beginning, like the research shows that 60% of outpatients in hospitals at the moment could be released out into community. You know, we see the shared care in Sligo working. We see it working, you know, across the UK and Scotland and Wales, where they work with shared care and it minimises the outpatient waiting list. And we can do that. And if you don't mind, last year, if I can read this out for you, Minister Donnelly last year at one of our conferences said that he fully accepts that we need to do more to address unacceptable high waiting lists, including in our eye service. He went on to say then that community optometrists are delivering poor eye care services in this country through this state community optometrist service scheme, but he believes that optometrists have the potential to play a greater role, and his officials are working with the HSE with a view to contracting more services out into the community.
Yes.
So, Stephen Donnelly has acknowledged this. He knows it, but unfortunately, very little has been done.
Well, you see, the problem is that, and for me, the more I dig into this, it seems to always go back to the same thing. Are there a group of civil servants somewhere that actually make the decisions, that feel that if they were to farm some of this out to private, that it would in some way for whatever reason, be seen as a failure or a failure of their system or the catalyst for something. I don't know what the motivation for them to resist this might be, but it's working in Sligo. We have a problem. We have a solution. With all respect to the health minister, he doesn't have really a great deal of decision-making power. There are obviously members of the permanent government or civil servants who are resisting this for one reason or another, and I suspect it might be that it'll be seen as, well, the public service isn't working, and look how quickly the private service were able to fix it up, and maybe that could snowball into something that they're scared of.
Yeah, that's a really good point, Greg, and you're probably on the money there with it. But at the end of the day, I think it's not he said, she said, whose side of the fence. Like, let's just put the patient at the centre of our decision.
I know that, but I know that maybe Stephen Donnelly might have the best interests at heart. I know that you do, and I know the patients do, but unfortunately, I don't believe the conversation amongst those three people gets us to where we need to be. And this is no disrespect for you. I just feel we're having an awful lot of the same conversations about certain things. And I just think we need to actually get to the people that are making these decisions and challenge them as to why they're not making logical solutions that would make so many people's lives so much better. You know, because Mr. Donnelly can say whatever he likes, but unfortunately, it doesn't mean something happens.
No, and the thing is, there's a huge appetite from patients and from professions to have change. You know, it's there. And putting in a shared care scheme is a win-win for everybody. And I suppose we can just keep talking about it in some ways, but hopefully, but even just having these interviews at the HSC and the like Stephen Donnelly are listening, and that you'd hope that they would action something to improve these waiting lists.
I mean, obviously there's a pilot going in Sligo. It's been going for quite some time now, and the feedback is working pretty good.
Yeah.
Sure. Is there some concern within the industry that this is just going to elapse, or it's not going to be adopted more widely? Do you know what I mean? In other words, why am I speaking to you and we're not trusting the system, to see that it's working in Sligo, roll it out everywhere? What are your concerns?
I don't know what's blocking that rollout, to be honest. And like Sligo is not like that's going to continue going. That's been a huge success. Everyone acknowledged the success of it, so I can't understand why it hasn't been rolled out nationwide yet.
Just a couple of questions.
Nobody can understand that.
Do you know if children are screened for ocular melanoma? Are these the freckles, effectively, that can be on the back of the eye?
Yeah, like in the screen they would be, but it is just a screening. It's not a full eye examination. So like with any screening, not everything gets picked up, and there's over and under referring as well within screening. So I think if a parent has any sort of concern or they have family histories, that they really do need to be going for a full eye examination.
Yeah, I'm at the beginning of needing eye care. Should I be going private from the get-go? It's not something I can't afford, but I can try to... Sorry, it's not something I can afford, but I can try to budget in for it. I don't want to be waiting over a year. I mean,
No, so can I just pick you up on that point? So just to be clear, the people that are on the waiting list have been referred in.
Yeah.
So for your normal routine eye examination, you can go into your local optometrist. Your PRSI or medical card will cover that for a free eye examination for you. And if you had to pay privately, it's around the €50 mark. And it's just after that, if somebody has a problem like they have glaucoma or macular degeneration, that they're then referred into the ophthalmology system, because that's the system that's in place and that's what has to be done. And
can you correct me if I'm wrong here, just because the word public and private's being used by all of us here, not you. You know what you're on about, I don't. I mean, obviously there's public eye care, and then there's stuff that can just be routinely done, which would be private, obviously, with a private company. But then there's private eye care, then, which is a different thing altogether, isn't it? That might involve.
I know what you're saying. So
like glaucoma or something.
Is everything in it.
Yeah.
So the local optician, has it treats everyone the same, and it just depends on how it's funded. So if you have a medical card, it's funded that way. If you have PRSI,
and could they remove a cataract in your local? You couldn't remove a cataract.
No, you can't do that.
See, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm talking about. Another area of private practice. There's sort of three, but most of it can be done. I get you. Does that make sense? You understand why I'm trying to clarify that?
No, I do, yes,
okay,
but I hope we haven't confused the listeners.
Oh, well, listen, they're well used to it. Most of them listen every day. I've been waiting on my eye appointment for 6 months now. Am I better to sit tight, or should I be contacting somebody?
Well, I mean, you can contact somebody, but I would say if you're on a waiting list and everything is stable, then, maybe you just have to sit tight. But if you feel there was any deterioration or a change in the reason that you've been referred, then if you go back to your local optometrist, they'd re-examine you and they would then send in another letter, which if things have worsened, then you might increase your chance of moving up the waiting list.
And I think too, in certain areas, I'm thinking too, particularly with school children, maybe some things are missed with the current system and what have you. I just think if we reimagined that and maybe tapped into a lot of the expertise that we're talking about that's available there, I just think not only would we have sort of people being more seen more quickly, and also better outcomes because they're seen more quickly. But I just think it might be a better system that that could be taken from the HSE's hands, not from their hands, sorry, but the actual.
I know. Yeah, no, you're totally on the ball, Greg. I have to say, like, what's the system that exists now is that children get screened once in their junior years. The reality is that our vision continues to change and grow and develop as you get older. So it's not right just to do a screening once when that child is 5 or 6 and never to screen the child again after that.
And what happens if they're off sick or they're not there, or I don't know?
Well, you'd hope they'd follow up with that.
Well, that's the gaps that unfortunately I've experienced of that people can fall through, and I just feel a different system could be a catch-all, so that every parent and guardian would have every best chance to say, no, well, I'll make a new appointment, or right. Well, as I say, we're seeing it in action to some extent in Sligo. I think you can say with absolute confidence that 1,775 Donegal patient waiting list could be started to be eaten into really, really quite quickly. As I say, we've identified the problem, we've identified the solution. We've got a pilot project just down the road from here. The question, we've seen Minister Donnelly is positive towards it in his words. We need to, and maybe that's the role of opposition parties to find out exactly precisely what's going on here. Anything else you think is important to add, Clodagh?
No, I think you've got it, and I think just from Donegal that it's what's happened at the minute is that it is that postcode lottery, and unfortunately, being in a postcode of Donegal at the minute is the numbers
very rarely come up here. Unfortunately, Clodagh.
Well, it's really unfortunate, that we need like a national approach to ensure fairness for everyone across the country. That it shouldn't matter where you live.
100%. That's what
I know you know that.
Yeah, but that's what we try and. It's just everywhere you turn, it just feels like things are going against you. But as I say, we have fantastic people working in pretty much every town in this county that could be part of the solution to this if we just explore it. Right, Clodagh McGovern, Photo Ireland board member. Maybe one quick question here. Sorry, I had a cataract removed and they scored the cornea, so I have a permanent blur. Is there anything that can be done to rectify this, or anywhere I can go? My eyesight is now impaired.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I'd say that there could be multiple things there that could need to be looked at. I would say the first point of call, go back to your local optometrist, let them assess it, and they'll know then what the best port of call is for that person. There's options. Lovely. There is, of course. Okay. Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you very much indeed. Clodagh McGovern, Photo Ireland board member. I just nearly read her telephone number out there. Listen, thanks very much for that. 086 60 25,000. WhatsApps and texts to that number.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
Someone rang me a few weeks ago after winning a contract, and I forgot to switch the phone off, and I went, woo! And he was still on the phone. He said to me afterwards, it's just great to hear someone so happy to win a contract.
Sage customers like Bridget can enjoy that winning feeling with our helpful accounting and payroll tools. Sage, helping business flow.
Hello, Hill 16 Insurance. How can I help you? Up the dubs.
Hi. I am looking for a home insurance quote.
Righto, and what part of Dublin do you live in?
I don't actually live in Dublin.
Right. Do you at least support the dubs?
What? I'm just looking for home insurance.
Well, you're going to have to keep looking, pal, because Hill 16 is Dublin only.
Get the feeling that your insurer doesn't want you? At Local Insurance, we understand your needs. Call today for a bespoke quote or find us online at localinsurance.ie. Local Insurance, we'll get you sorted. The Local Insurance Network, DAC Trading's Local Insurance, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland. Local Insurance is a tied insurance intermediary of Acorn Brokerage Limited. Acorn Brokerage Limited, trading as Acorn Insurance, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Thinking about joining AIB?
What if by changing your bank, you could also change the way you bank? At AIB, we don't make technology for you to bank. We make it for you to live, with all your everyday banking needs at your fingertips. Joining AIB takes just a few simple steps. Discover how to become a customer by visiting aib.ie. AIB, we back doing. Allied Irish Banks PLC is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Super Value makes saving money as easy as 1, 2, 3. 1. We match Aldi on the products you love, like Super Value Medium Red Cheddar Block, 169. Super Value Family Toilet Tissue 9 Roll, 229. 2. Get hundreds of better than half price special offers. And 3. Money off vouchers every week on the app. Super Value makes saving money as easy as 1, 2, 3.
The massive January sale is now on at Patterson's Kitchens, the Hall Lifford. Massive savings on kitchens, beds, sofas, dining sets and giftware, with up to 50% off selected mattresses. Hundreds of products in stock and ready for delivery or collection. Open Monday to Saturday 9 a.m. till 5:30 p.m. Get yourself down to Patterson's massive January sale.
Okay, 086 60 25,000 WhatsApps and text to that number. Give us a call in 074 91 25,000, 074 91 25,000. Emails come in to us, comments at highlandradio.com. A caller says, if people have a strong view on equality, they should change network. If their phone shop does not accept cash, this is no cash is taken away the right for some people to shop independently. If you believe in equality, shopping for everyone, you can help us by changing your phone network. All right, okay. Well, that's up to each individual. Hi, Greg. Still no email from the Fumar Festival regarding refunds and no updates on the Facebook page. We'll follow them. We'll follow them up again, right, to try and get a response for you. Right, it is Monday focus time, and we're joined on the programme by our next guest, Bernadine. How are you getting on, Bernadine? Are you well?
I'm very well, Greg. How are you?
Good to have you on your show. Right, you are from Relax Kids Donegal.
That's right.
Talk to us about that organisation or that group, or however you might describe yourselves.
Okay, so Relax Kids, Greg, is it's a franchise that I have. Relax Kids was set up in England in 2000, set up by a lady called Marinetta Vegas, and she was a child's entertainer at that time, and she could see the changes with mental health in children and how come they weren't being focused, they weren't good at concentration. So then she devised the plan then of Relax Kids around that, and using the fairy tale stories. So just to help with kids to relax more, so to giving them tools for life on how to deal with anxiety, how to deal with worries. It's for children right across the board.
It's coping mechanisms or tools, or it's to recognise it, I suppose, in the first instance, and then to adopt behaviours or routines or whatever it might be. It's not something you have to live with all of your life, anxiety, really.
Oh, absolutely not. Oh, no. So that's what I mean. It just helps children. It gives them a toolkit for life on how to deal with anxiety, how to deal with worries. And, it's if you can teach children at a young age, at young age, at 4 or 5, like if they stand in good stead, then how to deal with their emotions when they become a teenager.
Yes.
As they grow up into their future life. So they know then how to deal with all these things.
So what kind of age groups of children are you working with, and what are they presenting with?
So I started working with kids as young as 3 who are presenting issues with anxiety, with worries.
How might it manifest anxiety? How might anxiety manifest itself in a 3-year-old, Bernadine? I beg your pardon.
The parents come to me and they can see that there's been a huge change in their child at 3 years. Like, a child shouldn't have any anxiety at 3 years, 4 years of age. I suppose things have been hard on them this past 2 years with COVID and things like that. And they're presenting all these issues now with no social interaction, not performing well in schools, and they feel isolated now. I suppose they've more games and things like that too. They're more access to things. And so kids as young as that are coming to me with...
But I'm just wondering at that stage, because there's the old nature-nurture thing, I'm just wondering, are we looking at, what's causing it? Is it us as parents or guardians? Is it something that people are being born with? you know what I mean? What are the triggers? I mean, it's great that we're going to talk more about how you tool people and help people, but the rate of anxiety amongst young people at the moment, and we were talking about this last week, and that's why we're speaking to you today. It's off the scales. Like, they've not seen anything like it, and as well as the great work that you're doing in trying to help people deal with it, I just think we need real studies to find out why 3 or 4 or 5-year-olds are presenting with anxiety.
Absolutely. Like, they shouldn't have any anxiety. Like, when we were 3, 4 and 5, you were out playing, you had, you know, as you said in the show the last day, you were out climbing trees, you were doing loads of things like that. But now it's just, I think kids are just in this sort of bubble, maybe wrapped in cotton wool, maybe to a certain extent, where they don't actually get to live and be a child. And I think too, and a lot of parents would have said to me as well, is, you know, there's too much talk in front of children. Like, children now are absorbed, like, they're little sponges, they absorb everything. They have, you know, maybe financial troubles at home, mortgage troubles, you know, no work. And all this now is being spoken in front of children. And they are soaking that up. I mean, and, you know, when we were young, we were put out of the room. You know, there's an adult conversation going on, you know, get out of the room and we'll talk. You know, but now kids are just absorbent to all of that.
But they're not tooled. You see, it's all right for us as adults to try and deal with the problems life throws at us, but we've built up over those same years that we're alive, we've built up ways of trying to cope with it. Some of us better than others. A 4, 5, 6, 7, 8-year-old hasn't got those. You know, they don't know how to filter or line their ducks up to deal with stressful situations like you've been outlining. Now, I just want to recognise the fact that, say, for instance, in a situation like defective concrete homes, there is no way to protect your children from that. You cannot protect your children from those conversations because it's their lived life and their reality. So I think both you and I, Bernadine, recognise that. But there are other areas that maybe we aren't careful, you know, what we're talking about in front of the children. Do you have that conversation with parents, though, as they bring their children in, Bernadine? Because it's a toughie.
It is a toughie, yeah. It is a toughie. But as I said to them, you know, I said I'm not a counsellor. I'm not, you know, I'm a relaxed kids coach. I'm here to give children the tips on how to deal with all these emotions that they have, and, you know, referring back to the, you know, the kids that are involved with the Mika. I mean, you know, it's very hard for children, and I would love to be able to do something for them, to give them little tools, maybe just to help to get through it, and hopefully the parents can find the strength and the courage to keep going with it as well.
And we'll talk after the break, but this is stuff that's tried and tested, that's been proven to work.
With the relaxed kids?
Yeah, you know, the tools that are used, I can't think of the right word is, but the approach to it, it's tried and tested. Listen, stay where you are, because I do have to catch up on I don't have to catch up, it's actually scheduled a very quick break, and then that clears the decks then, and we can start sort of getting to solutions and what people can do to help, and what Bernadine can do to help you after these.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Digital loans now available. Apply online or via our app today and get your loan transferred directly to your current account. Donegal Denture Clinic, Letterkenny. Denture problems? We can help. At Donegal Denture Clinic, we customise, personalise and tailor your dentures to suit you. Call us for a free consultation on 91 25 25 3. Find us at Ballyrain, Letterkenny, beside Rossin College. Medical cards welcome. For all your denture needs, call Donegal Denture Clinic on 91 25 25 3. Online at donegaldentureclinic.ie. Tune in this Tuesday to the Community Garda information slot, on air after 10 a.m. on the 9 till noon show in association with Sheridan Security Systems. Call today and get your zero-wire alarm system from €299. Sheridan Security, 91 26025.
The Clanry Hotel presents Nathan Carter in concert this Friday 20th. Doors open at 7, show starts at 8 p.m. Tickets are €30 each and available from the hotel reception. That's Nathan Carter in concert this Friday night at the Clanry Hotel, Letterkenny.
House to Home Interiors, Bridge End, Donegal. Massive January sale now on. Open recliner suites starting from an incredible $1,299 or get a McQuaid Irish Made suite at a great price. Call in and see our new flooring section. Carpets, wooden floors, dining and slide rooms. House to Home Interiors, Bridge End, Donegal. Massive January sale now on.
This January, staying in is the new going out. At Kelly Centre Mountain Top, we've mega deals in fresh, healthy, ready meals range with great deals in our award-winning off-licence and winning offers in fresh meat and produce. Kelly Centre Mountain Top, 2022 winner of the National Forecourt Retailer of the Year.
Highland Radio weather updates with Ireland West Airport. Discover Edinburgh this summer with Ryanair's 3 times weekly service. Stunning architecture, endless winding streets and an awe-inspiring castle. Ireland West Airport. Don't just take off, take it easy.
Right, frost and icy stretches that were around this morning may linger into the afternoon in some places, and today will bring sunny spells and scattered showers, some wintry, highest temperatures of just 2 or 3 degrees with light to moderate northwest breezes. We're in conversation as part of Monday Focus this morning with Bernadine Boyle of Relax Kids Donegal. And, do you know, we're not going to be able to get through it today in terms of what might be causing this stuff. But I think it'd be worthy of analysis on a national scale, you know, through the HSE or whatever office might be responsible, Bernadine. I don't know if you agreed, to sort of try and find out what could be a cause in a spike, rather than just saying, oh, well, it was COVID or it was this. And I understand that could be it. But I think I would like our health service to drill in a little bit more deeper so that maybe it can help us as parents as well, tool us up as well. What do you think?
100%, Greg. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there has to be something done for children, and to see why all these anxieties are being presented now, or what's causing it. I suppose there's just, I mean, to be honest, Greg, how I got into Relax Kids was I became a single mum, which is another issue that kids have to deal with. And so I was trying to find tools to help my child to get through that process of what we were going through. You know, he was very young, and that's how I got into Relax Kids. I thought it was going to help my child to get through.
And that's a very common scenario as well.
It's
like lots of people listening will be able to relate to you. Right, okay, so what, I mean, obviously, you know, you want people to come and avail of your services, but I mean, what basic advice can you give parents and guardians, I wonder, Bernadine?
Is to giving them tips on how to relax and how a parent can relax. So when you have a relaxed parent, you have a relaxed child. And I do classes with adults as well. So giving them the tips on how to deal and how to cope with your child.
Do you find yourself then dealing with family units, Bernadine?
Family units, family units and adult groups, like the parent groups, ICA groups, local women groups. So I do classes with all of them. And I, you know, so basically with the benefits of Relaxed Kids, we're taking them from a high energy. So I have them running, screaming, shouting through the place, getting all that anger, frustration, getting all that out of them. So we do movement, we do play, stretching, massage. So it's a self-massage on themselves, breathing exercises. Then I do believe, which is the visualizations, or, you know, telling them that, you know, I am good, I am brilliant, I am happy, building up their confidence. And then the last part then is the relaxation, where they just lie in their blanket and they go to sleep. Some of them actually do go to sleep. And I read them a guided meditation. And then
some of those tools are really quite interesting. I read somewhere about, you know, I was feeling pretty anxious. Well, I'm pretty anxious all the time, but I was feeling pretty anxious this one particular day. And I was reading about putting stuff in a box, you know, your emotions or what's making you anxious in a box, and then visualizing the box and putting the lid in the box and then finding a place to put. I felt pretty good after it, to be honest with you. I don't know how it worked. I don't know if I just tricked myself or something. But my point is saying, like, I've quite a lot of faith in I'm not saying that's what you're telling people to do, but I have a lot of faith in these processes. I think that you know, these tools that you can give people, like the example I've given there, but you know, the self massage and the Believe program that you talk of, like, you know, the mind probably is very complex, but it can be very easily sort of manipulated as well, presumably to your benefit.
Oh yeah, and that's with the belief part, like that's building up their confidence. So it's funny as you mentioned a box. What I use in one of the in the belief part is I have a box, and it's all wrapped, and I have, special, amazing, brilliant, unique, calm written on the top of the box, or, labelled on the top of the box. And then I ask the children to come up and say, okay, what do you think is inside the box? Do you think there's something special, or do you think there's something amazing in here? And they'll say, okay, there's something special. And when they open the lid of that box and I have a mirror placed inside, they see themselves and they're like, oh my God, am I special? Am I amazing? And to hear children, to come out with that, and think, God, I am actually special. I am amazing, and I am happy, and the smile on their faces is it's brilliant. Like, it's really brilliant.
Yeah, Caller says children are too pampered, too much talk. The parents talk too much in front of their children. They were far better off when they were out playing. But listen, there was always been, I think really back in my day, you would have said, oh, that young lad's a worrier. You know what I mean? Or anxiety would have been labelled in different ways. I don't think anxiety is anything new. I think, there's people have had, I just think we're maybe better identifying what it is now. And also we have to recognise that there seems to be more of it about. But it's not a new phenomenon, anxiety, Bernadine.
Oh, it's not new. It's something that's been there for years. And I suppose now that there's more maybe projects like Relax Kids, or there's different projects out there that help with all of these situations for children. So yeah, it's with Relax Kids, that's all I can do, and I try and help with children and to get over that stage, like with no confidence as well. And they have like, some of them are shy. Like, when they come to me, they're clinging on to their mother. I don't go, mommy, I don't want you to go. So there's all this panic and just out of sorts and very stressful. And so when the parent comes back and sees them lying on the ground with their blanket over them sleeping, they're like, what have you done to my child? Like, he was all anxious and worried an hour ago, to now where he's lying on the floor and he's totally relaxed. So it's just giving them that time and space just to relax.
My 8-year-old son's not sleeping at night. It's gotten really bad since the Christmas holidays. Any tips? Like, if you're 8 and you're not sleeping, his mind's probably working 10 to the dozen there in bed.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And there's plenty of more children like that too, where they're not sleeping. And again, it's the time and space before bed. I'm no professional, but it's giving them the time just to relax before bed. Some people say, even lavender sprayed on the pillow, reading them a story, a guided visualization, maybe again, just to calm them down in their bed, and set a regular bedtime as well, to get into that routine that they know that's 7:30's bedtime or 8:15's bedtime. So they have that routine as well.
Yeah, okay. Bedwetting. Is anxiety a cause of that?
Yeah, I would imagine, yes, Greg. That's again more down to, there's something going on there that's obviously causing that. There's some sort of stress, there's some sort of anxiety brought on by that, by worries, maybe not doing well at school. There's an underlying problem there, to relax the body again, and to calm the body down again. And I would use part of the Relax Kids program too. I would use laughter yoga, and I would also use EFT, emotional freedom technique. So again, that's dealing with the body again and calming the body down.
Yeah, someone's talking about weighted blankets. Is that bad for growing children? I think really, I've never heard of it. I don't know if it's about anxiety or sleeping, but I would be more inclined to sort of try and get to what might be stopping a child's sleep rather than buying a heavier blanket.
Yes, I would rather get to the root of the problem, and seeing what is causing it. I just saw them weighted blankets actually very recently, so I'm not very familiar with them, but I would definitely get to the root of the problem and see what's causing it. Yeah.
Phones are contributing to children's mental health. They don't be outside enough. Screens in general are not beneficial. I think it's the phones. It's whether they're on the phones or not. But you see, they could be outside for 10 hours a day and on their phone for 5 minutes, and they could hit on something in that 5 minutes that ruins their day. I think we, again, need to be leaving them space to talk about what they're looking at on the phones and what they're seeing on the phones that might be affecting their mental health. Do you know, it's... whether they're on them for 8 hours or 10 minutes, I'm not sure that matters as such. Maybe it does. But once they're on them, they're on them. They could get that one insult or that one negative remark that ruins their night. I think it's more a case of tooling them on how to use the phone and to talk to you if something upsets them on it.
Oh yeah, and it just takes one message or something just to spoil that day. So again, back to giving tips again on how to deal with that, and how to deal with all them frustration things that they have, and they're more open to phone and social media now, and they're easily targeted for a hard time with phones and games. So it is a lot harder for them at the minute.
Right. Okay. There's a lot there, and there are solutions as well. Hope is a very important thing. I think too. It's also very important that parents are in a good space too, because they're sponges, children, and they pick up an awful lot of stuff from us, and we can help ourselves, and then we're in the best position to help them as well. More information, people can go to Relax Kids Donegal. Is that correct, Bernadine?
Yeah, Relax Kids Donegal on Facebook and on Instagram as well. And there's class details of all the classes that I have running at the minute.
And there are adults as well, by the way. So a few people are asking, do you provide services for adults? Okay. Listen, thanks for your time. I really appreciate it. I know we were supposed to speak before, but things ran. So thanks for being so flexible with us, Bernadine. And we'll chat again in the future. Take care of yourself. Bernadine Boyle there. Relax Kids Donegal. Today we had an awful lot of calls and comments coming in, and we also had an awful lot lined up, so I didn't get to them. So please don't think I'm filtering your comments. I know there's an awful lot of comments in there on EVs, which I want to continue the conversation on the Andrew Tate conversation. There's stuff in there as well, so they're not being sidelined. We'll get to them tomorrow throughout the course of Tuesday, but that's where we have to leave it for another 3 hours on a Monday. Thank you so much for being with us, and we're back with you tomorrow morning at 9. Do you know who else is back tomorrow morning? No one. John Bretton's back today, just after 12, is the point I was trying to get at. Right, chat to you tomorrow. Stay tuned. John's next.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union.